your free games with Prime in June.
Battle Man and Beast for survival set in the Himalayas in the open-world action-adventure shooter Far Cry 4. Then, adventure to the high seas as Pirate Guybrush Threepwood in the point-and-click adventure Escape from Monkey Island. Join the WRC Championship to win the most challenging motor racing competition in the world. Build yourself a cat cafe of your dreams in the sim game Calco. Journey with the Astrologaster, who uses the stars to cure the sick in 1592 London. Then, follow Alice on a musical adventure in Across the Grooves. With Amazon Prime, you also get free shipping, videos, music, groceries, and more. Play your favorite games straight from the cloud on Amazon Luna. Go to gaming.amazon.com for all these free games and more. Go where the games take you.
Welcome back to the Smite Pro League, powered by our good friends over at Prime Gaming. Make sure that you're making the most of your Prime membership by connecting over to your Twitch account to get some of the great, awesome free games that come every month. If you didn't like anything that was in last month, then there's a whole new fresh arsenal of games this month. And if you don't like any of the games that's in this month, don't worry, there's going to be another catalog of games next month for you to pick up, as well as exclusive content and some of the great games that you're already playing. In fact, we have a skin in there right now, the Happy Little Painter Jean-Qui. If you want to grab that, make sure that you got your Prime account linked up with everything to go. And also, not just games, you can get free shipping, you can get free groceries, get free music, movies, all kinds of great stuff with a Prime membership. So make sure that you're making the most of that. Thank you so much to Prime for being the sponsor in Season 9 of the SPL. I'm J-Mac. I've got Mifflin joining me up on the desk for set number 2 of our day. It's wild to believe we're just now getting to set 2. We're hitting the 4 p.m. mark, but what a barn burner of a game that we had first off. The Solar Scarabs go to the full distance with the Valhalla Valkyries in a 2-1 set. Very close and competitive second and third game. And now we lead it to our final set of the day, which is going to be the Atlantis Leviathans and the Jade Dragons.
The reigning world champions and the Jade Dragons looking to bounce back as well. I'm excited for this set. I think considering how strong that first one was, there's going to be some pretty large shoes to fill, but these are two teams that I think are very capable of doing so.
A very contentious set between these two. Like I said, if you missed the first set of the day, the Solar Scarabs and the Valkyries go the full distance with a 2-1 for the Scarabs. Then we'll round out our day today with the Dragons and the Leviathans, and then we'll have our triple header tomorrow to round out our weekend out. Seeing a look at the standings, well, all that really changed was at least the bottom in between those two. The Scarabs and the Valks came in at 0-2. Scarabs now move themselves up definitively over the Valkyries for now with a 1-2. Valkyries fall to 0-3 at the bottom of the standing, sitting at 8th seed for now. But we're moving into the other bottom two teams, which is a weird statement to say when you think of the Dragons, who were the #1 seed in Phase 1, the Leviathans, who were the world champions last season, but at the same time, the Leviathans in Phase 1 struggled. They came out at 6th seed at the end of the phase, and now again fighting in that same similar spot with the Dragons.
Yeah, it is really curious, right? Like the Jade Dragons, sure, they've always been a team that have been dominating in the first phase throughout their entire tenure, all the way back to Ghost Gaming. I feel like this squad has won Phase 1 of any given year, every single year. But the Atlantis Leviathans are a team that have really not made the comeback, and they're going to have a tough opponent ahead of them here today. The Jade Dragons have been revitalized a bit, if we're going to go by weeks previous. Phase 1. Well, we'll go by the Phase 1 Jade Dragons, which I'm sure is what the fans would like to see, or the Jade Dragons fans at least. And that is a team that has been very adept at playing every single portion of the game. Gone are the days of, hey, they're either going to beat you in the early or they're going to lose. Now it's, hey, they might beat you in the early, mid-game. It still looks really good for them. Sometimes their compositions are a little bit more late-game slanted. And instead of completely relying on Sanford Soccer out of the jungle to establish their pressure, now with new member Pagon, they've diversified where that comes from as well. Pagon, again, is the type of dude who's going to be playing things like the Gilgamesh in mid. He'll lock in the Ools. We might be looking at a Raven mid, set, things along those lines. Anything that Pagon thinks he can do to establish pressure is something Pagon will do. And that has been very hard for some of these mid laners in the league to deal with, as generally, mid lane has been one of the more stagnant roles in the history of Smite. It's, hey, I'm either going to play mages or I'm going to play ability-based hunters, and that's been the case. And Pagon breaks the mold a bit by saying, hey, assassins are pretty cool here. Maybe I play a warrior once or twice, and those matchups have really favored him. And when he's able to establish that pressure, the Jade Dragons flourish around him.
The Jade Dragons have found a lot of success in the past through their mid laner and even through the dual lane that's been able to step up on the opposite side. You know, Panda Cat, and PBM able to really reprise their role. The Jade Dragons have also just been allowed to get so many essential picks to their core. I mean, we've been seeing multiple games where Yamoja and Baron have snuck through for this team to be able to find success in there. Sam's been able to find great things. And such diverse comps that we're seeing from the Dragons. They'll go from the more traditional style of play, you know, your standard mage in the mid lane, your warriors in solo, and then all of a sudden we're seeing triple hunter compositions come out, or double hunter in these mage jungles. So it's all over the place with the Dragons, but a team that's maybe not as similar in that same vein. The Atlantis Leviathans, a much more standard team when it comes down to it. Sure, we've seen them go for some of these double or triple hunter comps, but a lot of the success of the Leviathans in the past and up until now have been by playing that traditional Smite.
It has been. When I think of the Leviathans at their peak, it's, hey, we're going to play whatever the Reddit tier list has in S+. If it's all hunters, we'll play all hunters. If it's a Daji, we'll play Daji. But recently, it feels like the Atlantis Leviathans have been a little bit slower on adapting to this new age meta. This is not a team that I associate with a triple hunter composition. This is not a team that is just playing what everybody else is playing. Instead, it feels like now, with the rings on their hands, they've established, all right, these are the picks that we're good at. We kind of want to stick with that style of play, and they're trying to come into their own. So this could be an evolutionary period for the Leviathans as they start to develop their own style instead of playing that standard Smite that we used to associate with them last year and as Sanguine. So I am excited to see what this team is able to build upon as the phase goes on, but in recent weeks and recent months, the struggles of the Leviathans really have been securing that early game. Early game really has been a bit of a weakness for them, and once they are able to get past that point, generally the strength of this squad used to be team fights and still is. When they are grouped up as 5 and playing together inside the jungle, around the Fire Giant, around a Gold Fury, that really is where this team flourishes. So I think the major thing that has changed that's really hurt the Leviathans is this lack of emphasis around Gold Fury. Used to be 10 minutes into the game, Gold Fury was the POI. That's where everybody grouped up, and it was a 5-on-5 engagement. Nowadays, those 5-on-5s have been pushed a little bit further back into the match, and the Leviathans aren't allowed to use their main strength.
No, they haven't been able to. And one thing that's really kind of showing a lot of commonalities between these two teams have been some of those picks. We'll talk a little bit more about those in just a moment because we do have a very special interview planned for you guys. We're going to throw it over to that real quick. We'll be right back with you guys.
I feel like the scary thing about Jade Dragons is like the 3v3 because they have a lot of pressure and they're gonna like punish you, like invade raids and all that stuff. I think they're playing better because of Pegon. Like he's like so flexible to play, like I don't know, assassins or hunters from it, so that's a good point for them. They play a world difference in my opinion. They play like so much pressure right now because of the meta of the hunters, so they're playing like 4 fists and full pressure on the map. I think like they can win like from solo lane for final K or dual lane, or even like the 3v3 as I said before.
Panatom, the jungler for the Atlantis Leviathans, echoing a lot of what you were saying there, Mifflin, where this is just a pressure team out of the Jade Dragons. They can play through just about any one of their players on the map, whether that be final K out of the solo lane, whether that be in that mid 3v3 or over in the dual lane on the opposite side. The Atlantis Leviathans have been keeping notes on the Jade Dragons. I'm sure every team has been keeping notes on the Jade Dragons to see what kind of comps they're willing to come out with, what kind of strategies that this team is, because this is one that kind of helped to define the meta during Masters, and we're starting to see this meta shift up just a little bit more. Picks and bans for game number 1 between the Leviathans and the Jade Dragons starts back up. And going back to some of the picks, I think probably the 2 most contested picks we might be seeing between these 2 teams, maybe I'll throw 3 in there because I'm going to throw 2 supports, Yamoja and Kepri, most likely between at least Mike and Rongyu. And then that Poseidon as well has been something that's at the top of the game for both these 2 teams.
Poseidon, a good topic of conversation. I think Chernobog probably up there in the discussion as well, that global presence as well as taking away a hunter from the Jade Dragons when they are apt to go towards a triple hunter composition could be a good avenue for the Leviathans. But it seems like they've got their eyes on limiting Sam for soccer as of right now. Fenrir banned out in that first slot. I am curious. I really feel like any given week we're going to see a completely different version of the Leviathans. This does not strike me as a team that is saying, hey man, our strategy isn't working, but we're just going to stick with it. This is a team, I think, that is apt to adapt. I'm expecting a different version. And if that's the case, what better test than up against the Jade Dragons, the Phase 1 champions? So, reigning world champion up against the Phase 1 champion inside of this set. But the bans have rolled out as largely standard, I'd say.
Yeah, Fenrir, maybe the one that kind of stands out amongst the crowd, at least for now. And then Nemesis and Mercury All bans up against Sam for Soccer on the Jade Dragons, a Dodgy and a Chernobog on the opposite side. So taking away that global presence that's been such a massive factor for so many of the teams in the SPL, just in general across the competitive scene. And then Dodgy, a specific shot over at Panatom, recognizing that he has been one of the big playmakers for his team and setting the standard of the pace. And it's something that we see specifically out of the Warriors as well. This Dodgy pick, even in this auto attack style of meta where Golden Blade is reigning supreme, it always still feels like Dodgy just has herself right there with the top end.
Especially with Panatom, who's seen so much success on this pick. It really is Dodgy locked in for her ability to force out those ultimates or force out those beads, the pressure that she can establish, especially with some of the wombo combos that we know she has, Dodgy plus Morgan, essentially just a double Dodgy composition. Makes it so hard for teams to draft around that safety. How much CC immunity can you pick up from inherent kits in the game? It's pretty difficult. Not everybody can be Robin. Not everyone's got overhead kick plus a CC immune ultimate, and the Jade Dragons don't seem to want to deal with that as of now. Uld picked up first overall for the Leviathans. An early pressure selection has some flex potential as well, now into 3 roles. Every single one of the lanes has seen Uld at some point this year, and I think that's going to continue to be the case. So the Leviathans not showing too much of their hand in that first selection, except for the fact that they will likely have pressure in at least one of their lanes.
Now it's over to the Jade Dragons, and we'll see maybe how early one of Pagon's picks comes out. Typically, similar to the Valkyries and some of these other teams, even like the Scares, you see that mid-selection held off for a while. But with AMC being hovered, a god who's been seeing an immense amount of bans within the first week of play and even up until this set, will make his way through. So Muzen Cobb for the Jade Dragons, and Baron Smetty as well, as he has been left open. Notably, as one mentioned earlier, 2 Guardians still up for either of these 2 teams to take. Khepri and Umoja not looked at just yet.
With both being so highly valued, I think neither one of the teams will feel bad about getting the other one, right? So if the Leviathans take Khepri for themselves, the Jade Dragons say, all right, well, we get Umoja, that's not a big deal, and vice versa is true. So instead, they look elsewhere in their draft. AMC locked in, has got very high boxing potential, opens up the door to a double hunter composition without having to worry too much about physical defense, thanks to Stinger having that defense shred inherently. Baron Samedi brings some in-combat healing, which should help out a fair deal once the teamfight phase starts to roll up. And the Leviathans seem to think the teamfight phase is what they're aiming for with a Freya lock-in. That's generally the pacing you're trying to set. Just get her to 4 or 5 rings, and then she could start being that chainsaw for your squad. But Baron Samedi does bring at least a little bit of flex potential. You can toss him over towards solo. He's also seen a fair deal of play over in the support role as well.
I got maybe a little bit of bad news for some Dragons fans, some good news for Leviathans fans. So far this year, Rongyu is 100% win rate on Umoja. Only 4 games played, but all 4 of those have been wins for the Leviathans. So maybe some good news in that support role by grabbing that god out. Khepri has been overlooked for now, maybe at least with some of that flexibility you mentioned with the Baron on the Jade Dragons, and then a Jingwei to round out the top 3 for the Dragons. So we're at least seeing 2 of the Hunters. AMC has been more often slanted towards the mid lane. Jingwei, we've been seeing some flexibility of her in either of the 2 side lanes. Do you think that the Jade Dragons are going to continue with this double Hunter or with this, maybe even to a triple Hunter, I should say?
You know, every time they lock it in, I think to myself, man, that's got to be the last time, right? Like, we're not going to see it again.
Surely it's done.
And then they do it again. So do I think they will? Maybe. And I'm sure the Leviathans are thinking of that possibility as well. With the draft as it is, a triple Hunter composition would leave you incredibly squishy. Baron Samedi being your primary initiator, I suppose, would make it very difficult to approach that team fight phase, especially with a Freya on the other side. I would like to see the Jade Dragons get a couple more standard selections first. Something that could deal with this Freya early on would be massive for them. But the possibility is certainly there.
Well, it will be Osiris and Gilgamesh banned away by the Jade Dragons, so making sure to keep some of that pressure from the jungler away from this AMC, away from this Jingwei. And then it'll be the double Magic jungler that the Jade Dragons oh so love to run when they get these kind of Hunter compositions. Poseidon and Habwa both banned away. And with that Poseidon taken away, sure, that does take it away from the potential that it could go over to Sam, but maybe also tells that this Ullr and Freya could be one of the 2 picks going over towards Shinto. And now with the Susanoo locked in, I'm still scratching my head a little bit because we've seen this a lot from Pagon in the mid lane.
We have, so that could leave AMC over the solo, Jingwei and the duo, Susanoo could run it down in mid. If this is Freya going mid, I don't think it is. Generally, if you see a Freya and an Ul together, you're going to assume Ul's going mid, but we saw a little bit of mid Freya earlier on. If that is the case, Susanoo is going to dominate that matchup. It is such an immobile mage in Freya that you're able to gap close for the most part. You should be able to out-farm throughout the early portions. and that has been the MO for Pagon in the past. So keep your eyes on the Jade Dragons draft. We'll get a little bit more clarity on it as this last pick is taken for them. But I do want to talk about this Habois ban just briefly, because that is the age-old answer to Freya. Freya is always, hey, if I'm allowed to hit you once or twice, you're probably just going to die to the third or fourth auto attack. And Habois is, hey, I'm going to blink in, I'm going to knock you up, and you're not touching the ground. You should have beads the knock up initially, because getting into the air is going to get you slammed by Crushing Wave. And that is a great answer to Freya, who's got all that sustain thanks to the build, as well as how her abilities work around it. So the Leviathans, and taking that away from the Jade Dragons, just a smart move, because that is one of Sam's best gods as well.
With the final 2 picks from the Atlantis Leviathans, we will see that's going to be King Arthur to the solo lane and Erlong Shen locked in for Panatom. So a little bit of a different look, going away from the Mercuries that had gotten into the past. The Dodgy obviously banned away, so slightly different look there. And even with some of the rebalancing and kind of re-kitting of this god, we've been seeing a little bit less of Erlong Shen, but as of recent, with this Golden Blade rise, and as you've highlighted before, with Mannequin Scepter kind of resurging with some of these auto attack junglers, we're seeing a little bit more success out of him as of recent.
We have. I mean, anybody that's able to utilize Golden Blade is just a farm jungler, right? You're able to get online so quickly. The additional movement speed, 10% from Golden Blade, allows you to maneuver the jungle so incredibly well. It's a Voth lock-in. Oh, that is curious. So that is likely going to put AMC over towards the solo lane, Jingwei in the duo. Then you've got a Baron Samdi support, Thoth mid, Pagon, very capable of playing standard mages, even if he doesn't do it all too often. And then Susano inside the jungle for them. I like this draft from the Jade Dragons, but I am concerned about the initiation, which was the initial concern when we saw their top 3. Is Baron Samdi always going to be able to close gap on these priority targets? Life of the Party has got some built-in answers from the Leviathans. Just spot up some Umoja walls. It doesn't feel great if you have to use your Umoja ultimate just to counter out an initiation from the Jade Dragons, but looking at how their composition works, stopping that initiation might just be the value, because besides Baron Samdi, who else is doing it? Susano with the pull-in probably just dies pretty quickly.
Yeah, I imagine for the Susano, it's just going to be, all right, I blinked into the back line, I charged up Typhoon, oh no, everybody's looking at me, somebody please help. And it's something that we saw in previous sets where whenever you only have this lone Baron as your frontliner, you try and get that one coffin pull in, and sometimes it takes a while to get them. If you're trying to pull in a King Arthur, he's got a few ways to get away from there.
A few.
Umoja, you even talk about not just the walls, the riptides that can pop up, maybe pull some people away. I'm a little bit worried with you alongside this Jade Dragons composition. So for the Jade Dragons, is the early game just going to be the name of the game? Do they have to hit the ground running early to try and find a win over the Levi's?
It's hard to say, right? Because this is a composition that should be able to scale very well. You've got Double Hunter, Susano comes into the late game very well. Once the crit, once the penetration is there, I think the Jade Dragons will have the ability to look towards objectives. So that could be one way in. But you are right to say that the early game has got value for the Jade Dragons, which is always going to be the case with any team lined up against a Freya. If you can slow down her farm and start to transition that into early objectives, we could be looking at a standard Jade Dragons match where they are able to just snowball you out of control throughout the early portions of the game. But this is a composition that can perform early, but it's not that same just run you down, I'm on top of every single one of your buffs that we're used to seeing.
So for the Leviathans, as they kind of get the ball rolling for themselves, is there a lane that maybe Panatom has a little bit better chances of getting some control for himself? Does he focus up with Shinto, or does he maybe move over with Zapman to the dual lane to get some pressure on the Dragons?
I think playing around the Ull throughout the early is one of your best avenues in. Just the ability to have him be the initiator with an axe from downtown, follow up from wherever you need. Hail of Arrows has so much range on it that if you're looking for kill pressure, don't look any further than that Ull. Play around him. But if you're looking for who needs to be facilitated, play around your Freya.
Well, we'll have to see where Panatom and the Levi's play around. Can they find a game one, or is it going to be the Jade Dragons to start this set out? We're going to throw it over to Dave and Trelly for game number 1.
My goodness, what a matchup to end our day with Leviathans versus Dragons. Trelly, what's our name? Because I did this with Miff yesterday, and we landed on Dolphin. It's either Deli or Trollson.
Trollson, I like
Trollson.
Trollson, and adds a little bit of edge to the cast, if you will.
Are we just gonna troll the whole time though? If that's
all we do.
All right, so you're in on Trollson. I'll stick with Trollson as well, and unfortunately, Miff is gonna have to hang with Dilly. Next time I cast with Gore, we'll get to the bottom of our name. Doug joining us, of course, though, for game 1, game 2, and what could be a 3-game set between. Charlie, I can't believe it. 2 teams that are in the lower half of the league between the Leviathans and the Dragons. This is literally a 5th versus 6th place matchup right now, based on how the early sets have gone. between these two teams. Don't expect them to finish there, but teams that have had some struggles to start off their phase.
Yeah, no doubt. I think just an interesting meta right now that the Jade Dragons are trying to figure out how they want to play it. And I got really excited when I saw the RDO hovered because that meant that FineOK was going to play a traditional solo laner, has a good matchup into King Arthur. That means Pagon takes the AMC mid, and then they just ripped that all away from me, and they are going, they are continuing this trend. I mean, AMC does have the Stinger, can cripple out King Arthur. Narcora started to teleport, not beat, so maybe some kill potential there, but we're going to see a completely different style of play, which usually means FineOK is going to be underneath this tower for quite some time. And looking to get aggressive in the mid lane.
Yep.
That's probably going to be your best option.
Yeah, I mean, it is such a different look for Fino. I'm so used to seeing him just in his career, not necessarily in this meta, on the King Arthurs, the aggressive warriors, the run it down in lane, run it down in team fight styles of picks. So it is just new for me and for all of us to see FineOK on these styles of picks. But the Jade Dragons really want to make these compositions work. Yeah. Have seen mixed success from them. Now, I wouldn't be surprised, if game one just does not work, FineOK unable to get involved. If it just does not work out for the Dragons, I wouldn't be surprised to see a pivot get FineOK back on some of those warriors moving forward. On the left side of the map, though, an interesting matchup. Of course, Polar Bear Mike is going to be the one tank, and so he's going to have to not only initiate, but soak up a lot of the damage. But really two carries, one magical, one physical. They want to scale up later on into the game, and then two supports that love to be a bit aggressive. So I think it's going to be a fun dynamic watching this duo lane.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, PPM is itemizing, I think, the way he has to, starting that Spirit Robe first, or building into it eventually, because he's got to be the target. The first one standing in front of everyone, trying to be that frontliner, trying to be that initiator.
He's it.
The Baron's going to be the first one to die or the first one to set up a kill, and that's the only option at this point. So I understand the shell, but with no beads and with no sort of setup, there's a lot of taunts in. And Sanford Soccer is just hiding from Panatom here, trying to steal away his speed buff, and because he hid there long enough, will be able to.
I think he will be able to. Drops the little guys. And knocks down the big one as well. What is that, a centaur? I don't know what the speed buff guy is.
Wait, I just want to see the look on his face when he realizes
this is going to be great. He gets to walk over to his buff. This is always the payoff. Walks around.
And we got to see the face too.
In his face, I just see the word "oh" come out of it. Just my buff's gone. He has to walk around the corner. That's got to be frustrating. Has a bit of a lead over Sanford Soccer right now as far as experience goes, but it is slight. So a nice little play from Sanford Soccer to take that speed buff away. And I do think the jungle matchup's going to be important here as well. Of course, for the Jade Dragons and finding other types of initiation. You're going to need the Typhoon, things like that from Sam. But early on in this game, getting the ball rolling for both of these teams, between Panatom, between Sanford Soccer, both have Blink. And so you wonder where Panatom on this Erlang Shen, Sam on the Susano feel comfortable starting to put some of that pressure.
Yeah, I would assume the duo lane is where Panatom wants to look for. Again, looking at PBM specifically, that should be an easy kill. But I think the Jade Dragons know that, and they're going to sit underneath the tower for quite some time. Pagon has beads and sees this, and will just be able to dash away. So much wrath. So much range, rather, on that dash from the Thoth, the evade and punish.
So much wrath.
So much wrath in his
so
eyes.
Angry.
Panatom is furious that Pagon just dashed away.
I think Pagon has got the least wrath-like skin on right now. The chill farmer.
Farmer?
Isn't he a farmer?
No, he's like a hipster. Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was like those two things are kind of similar nowadays, right? The hipstery vibe, the kind of farmery rural vibe, those could be kind of similar. Yeah, my point is,
he probably grows his own food.
Right, exactly. He's on a very chill skin. No wrath in mid. Though, some wrath in that final judgment, and I do expect those to be hitting this game because Pagon's so talented on this style of pick. Because remember, in the SEC, there was some flexibility with Pagon, but it wasn't as flexible as maybe I'm used to seeing here with this Jade Dragons team. The Assassins in mid, kind of few and far between. It was really the mages, the cornerstone mages, where Pagon looked really good. And we'll kind of equalize out that range that otherwise the Ullr will be throwing out as well. Hog.
Ooh.
Is that not good enough? And Rongyu is able to drop down the purple. A small moment and an unfortunate moment for the Jade Dragons duo.
That's not what you want to see. When you save your Hog for the buff, you usually want to make sure you're confirming that one. So great by Rongyu to be able to steal that buff away. Going to give a little bit of extra safety and just, a little bit of extra XP and gold you're taking away from Panda Cat, as well as PPM, who was sitting there and just watched that one go down. Pretty tame game thus far. The really only gold lead we're seeing is a small bit in favor of the Leviathans, and I would imagine that's on the back of Yarkor, who's level 7 right now, so maybe he's taking a bit of neutral farm away, last hitting more minions, that sort of thing. It's what you'd expect with a King Arthur up against an AMC. There's no real kill potential when a full sovereignty is online. He's got teleport as well, so shouldn't be missing any sort of farm, whereas AMC has to make the whole trek all the way back to lane. And Yarkor, I imagine, needs to get ahead pretty early on. It looks like Rong Yu is going to rotate over, trying to catch the beat. And hold that thought.
Sam was trying to be sneaky behind the wall, and then Panatom was a bit sneakier and actually caught Sam out of sorts. Dashes away, blink used by Panatom and ultimate as well, but Sam able to avoid the pressure. I think you're right, though. Soul Lane, fine, okay, gets Transcendence. You're going to stack that up. The damage largely mitigated by the Sovereignty, and also the pressure from Sam headed towards right. Going to be mitigated by that Sovereignty as well. Rong Yu sent some eyes towards Solo. Because remember, Fine OK is somewhat immobile on this AMC. So, you know, a really good River's Rebuke, something like that, while either there's no shell or no peel from the rest of the team. Rong Yu could make an impact over on right, but might require that. Good juking out by Mike. I surely walk face first into that to my death. But now both supports starting to rotate out. This is where I think Mike as well could help out the Jade Dragons, kind of smooth the curve from early to mid. Because initiation-wise, you're right. I mean, it's a lot of Polar Bear Mike. It's a lot of life of the parties, hoping that they can connect. And there's 3 sets of beads for the Leviathans and some CC immunity in the kits. So I think Mike actually has a pretty tough game ahead as far as finding those necessary targets. Down 3, but a jump out from Shinto. Stun onto Rong Yu. Rong Yu holds onto the bead. Sam for Soccer rotates into this fight as well. Double knock up on the Typhoon, and damage pouring in from Fine OK, and the last bit of tick damage. Snags first blood. Stinger down, not retrievable. But Fine OK just fine with grabbing first blood.
Yeah, that was a great play, able to answer back there, but it looks like PandaCat wants to get aggressive here on the Zapman.
There's an airstrike up and over, but Zapman has Valkyrie's discretion. And it looks like just walking away is the answer. Pagon, 1, 2, good. Dash forward, auto attack, no. Valkyrie's discretion out, and there's no final judgment.
Sam's got to get
Soccer behind the tier 1 tower. Pagon tanks a tower shot. Sam is now also going to be taking tower shots. Woof, no good. One more tower onto Sam. Might have gotten it done. And the Jade Dragons kind of juggle out the tower aggro there. And able to pick up 2 kills across the map.
Yeah, a great backstep by Sam for Soccer as well to make sure that Banish did not hit. Remember, he started Blink, and he didn't have Blink available to close gap. He needed to make sure that number 1, he didn't take another tower shot, but number 2, that he didn't get banished and stuck up in the air for that long as well. So I think he tanked it for the exact amount of time you need to before another shot comes in and kills him, and they were able to take down the Freya, and PandaCat's going to sit a little bit safer in that lane, but his purple buff will be stolen away, so that's not going to go the way of the Jing Wei. The Jing Wei, if you will. Either way,
I won't.
I accidentally said either way after, so that's the
It's okay.
I'm glad.
Lots of ways.
Yeah. What I was trying to say, though, at the beginning of this whole fight started with what was a solid initiation from PBM. You know, you'd think maybe Rong Yu was able to get out there with River's Rebuke, but so much tick damage from Fine OK, just way too much. The Bluestone, the Stinger, all the PandaCat's getting stuck.
Yeah, he is. Uses the beads, avoids the banish, but Panatom wants a kill. One more auto from Zapman while Panatom tanks up the tower. Exactly what the Freya needed. Because we've seen Freyas over in the dual lane that just kind of get sat on all game, never get a chance to scale up. Zapman at risk of that happening if a little life raft doesn't get thrown over there. So now able to grab a kill. A somewhat simple one. Little tower dive requires some coordination, but feels like gets Zapman right back on track.
Yeah, I think Freya is seeing some play now because of the way that these ADCs are building. It used to be you're getting Gilded Arrow, you're rushing your Devos, and you're trying to get crit as early as possible. Not really the build path that everyone's going anymore. That Itch of All means that people like Freya can try and go in, but Shinto gonna get dove on here.
My goodness, these teams are scrapping. That's gotta be a kill. What a play, though, from Shinto to turn around the 2v1 and get a kill. Pagon trapped in the River's Rebuke. Could be a second for the Leviathans. Mike in range for some peel. Has life of the party. Throws it up just to confirm his mid laner's life, and it's right underneath the tower. But Pagon does not have final judgment. Mike unhappy with just the one. Needs the cooldowns back, but not the shell, rather the shielding through. And that'll get Panatom out. Ends up being a little turnaround there in mid, and what a play by Shinto to at least at least turn around one.
Yeah, turned down that kill onto Sam for Soccer, and just a great answer back by Panatom to try and engage. And then Mike almost pulled Panatom back in under the tower and did, just wasn't quite enough damage.
This is nuts from Shinto. Jumps out, and look at these. That is just absurd. Sidesteps a bit of damage, and the last auto attack. It's almost unfair that Shinto has to die after a play like that, but Shinto happy, I think, just to pull a kill. And these two, look, 5 kills in 10 minutes is far from a ridiculous pace, but it is fast compared to how we have seen some teams play the early game up to this point. Seems like really Sam mainly happy to kind of run at the Leviathans, try to make plays happen, and it's worked out a couple of times so far for the Jade Dragons, but hasn't really resulted in much of a lead. We're effectively dead even in gold. Relic's much worse off for the Jade Dragons. You have to imagine there's a small opportunity here for the Leviathans. Beads down on PandaCat, beads down on Pagon, no beads for FineOK. Those are some things that Panatom and the rest of the team can capitalize on.
Yeah, right as Shinto was getting dove, FineOK was getting his beats down. It looks like because FineOK backed, this Pyromancer's open. Because there's 3 people over Pyro, 4 now, that Gold Fury is also going to be open. And the Jade Dragons were looking at it for a second, but we're more concerned about the purple buff and Zapman.
Early ultimate out of Zapman. That'll just save his own life, but not the purple buff. Still considering that Gold Fury, but I think the Jade Dragons are just going to make their way on by and end up waving at it, snag the Oracles, and head on out. So the Leviathans get a pretty simple Pyromancer, while the Jade Dragons steal out a purple buff. As far as gold and XP go, Leviathans just fine with that trade.
Yeah, one of those is definitely worth more.
The purple buff is worth more, right?
Yeah, because that man's tilted, and now he's gonna
Right.
he's gonna over-aggress to try and steal PandaCats. He'll feed, and that'll be worth like 10,000 gold as the game goes on.
Right, of course. Eventually that pays off. It's the Jade Dragons laying the groundwork to tilt Zapman a bit later on in this game. Double stacking for FineOK out of the Soul Lane. Finished up that Transcendence, then Soul Eater after the fact. So you're going to build in some of that sustain. Also, some more penetration on the Transform Soul Eater, things like that. I guess makes some sense, Trelly. If not much fighting is going to be happening over on the right side of the map, you have the time to build up these stacking items.
Yeah, I think FineOK is just trying to get as much power and sustain online as he really wants. His abilities seem to be the name of the game here. There's a lot of physical damage dealers on the Jade Dragons, and with that Stinger, you want to make sure you're cycling your abilities as much as possible. Yarkor, though, is invading Sam for Soccer's backhand. He's going to be getting very low. Wrong use here, too.
Yeah, you might do one better. I'm going to invade your jungle, and I'm going to get a kill. The River's Rebuke perfectly placed, and the Leviathans will capitalize. FineOK, immobile, AMC, run down. But now Zapman on left, being jumped at by the Jade Dragons. Valkyrie's discretion saves some time. Polar Bear Mike looking for the root, but Zapman dodging it all out. PandaCat, the one taking up the tower now. Banish up onto PBM, and now Zapman can turn around the damage. Surely wins this damage trade. The Jade Dragons have done too much, and they come up empty-handed.
Wow, that one definitely hurts. The teleporter from Yarkor. No way PandaCat gets caught out here, too.
Oh my god, this is brutal for the Dragons. Across the map, effectively, everyone except for Pagon dies. FineOK, Sam, Mike, Panda, all of them going down at different intervals, and the Gold Fury. What a swing over the last couple of minutes of this game. And only like 2 of those kills, Trelly, were things the Leviathans, I think, were really out and searching for. The Jade Dragons just overextend on left, it feels like. Unable to finish off the kills, and the Fury goes down. Big swing now in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, 3 members at Sam for Soccer's back camps. That's unfortunate. Sam goes down. But just FineOK tries to help.
It is what it is, right?
His FineOK tries to help, goes a little bit too far. He falls down too. And then Mike and PandaCat are like, we gotta get something here. Everyone's dying on right. They overextend. Zapman is able to stall that one out. Then Yarkor says, I've got teleport. We can go kill them too if you want. And then PandaCat lazy backs after all that, just continuously getting hit when they're down. Pagon did not decide to rotate over and just wanted to farm up here. It's level 14, but still a level behind Shinto in that mid lane. This Ullr has the Hydra's Lament online, full CDR already. Those abilities are going to be absolutely flying and chunking. That's just how much damage Ullr has already. It's going to be rough to deal with.
Yep, Jade Dragons, now Transcendence for Sam. Gives you the idea that taking a breather, farm up some of these items, get the stacks rolling, maybe the name of the game. Wrong you considering something in the Cloak Tree as well after the Thebes, but realizing that throwing out those River's Rebuke on cooldown and grabbing the shield after the fact with the Pridwin may be a better option early. And so we'll eventually return back to that item in a second slot, but Pridwin ends up being third. I guess technically that counts as third, even if he's only completed one tier of the cloak on the other side. But I do think the other duo laner here, Zapman, the one who has been getting a lot of pressure thrown at him, what you want to do to the Freya, I think the fact that Zapman's been able to turn it around, such a boost for the Leviathans. Not only has Zapman not been held behind Trelly, but he's actually felt just fine in this lane, off to a 2-1 start compared to the 0-2 of Panda Cat.
Yeah, he's got a level lead, or at least did, and now once he clears that big wave, probably still will. It's 2-1 at the moment, has no real fear of the Jingwei because, again, the way that Panda Cat is itemized, I understand this is just the meta right now, you want the Itchaball, but the reason that Freya does not want to sit in this lane more often than not is because these crits she can't match, and it's not going to get online for quite some time. Finally, third item, the Wind Demon, will come through, and Panda Cat will be able to try and match some of the DPS that Zapman has, but almost a third ring finished for this Freya. So much DPS. Usually when we say Freya comes online, I say about 3 or 4 items. Zapman's pretty close to hitting that threshold there, and there's no more objectives up at the moment. Pyromancer's about to spawn in. The Leviathans have vision around this objective. They're all sort of grouped here, at least 4 strong, while the Freya's in left lane. There's really no room for the Jade Dragons to try and weasel their way into some farm, try and find a gank. Nothing's working out.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that you overextend for a Pyromancer. Did notice as well, Panda Cat's gotten sprint Trelly, so that's a bit unconventional. It's a lot of damage from Shinto. It's going to make its way into Pagon. Pagon is the 1v1er. He's got to be careful in this lane. Shinto hits an axe, all the burst damage is going to get this squishy target quite low. So Pyromancer's going to get pulled by the Leviathans. Doesn't look like the Jade Dragons will find much of an answer. And I do want to go back to the sprint for Panda Cat and why we think there might be some value there.
The Freya's auto attacks slow you, and they get super annoying, the AoE ones. And you want to sprint away from those. There's not too much else, I imagine, that Panda Cat's worried about. Aegis usually doesn't save you. You can Aegis 2 or 3 autos. After that, Freya just shreds through you. As Yarkor's going in here, Sam Prasakar is forced to beads.
Yeah.
And gets those for free. Yarkor gets out, no more follow-up.
And Sam pulled Yarkor into that, and Yarkor said, all right, I'll take your beads, and then I'll head out. The Leviathans playing the map so effectively right now, exactly a 5,000 gold lead for the Leviathans at 17, 5.2, my fault, but 6.5k in the experience as well. And a pretty hefty power spike about to arrive for not only Yarkor, who's got nearly 2,400 gold, but Shinto, who also has nearly 2,400 gold. A full buy mid-Guardian mail for Yarkor. And then tier 2, the Morningstar for Shinto, who will go back, finish up a decent power spike in that tree as well. And I'm officially at the point where I'm scared of what this King Arthur is going to be able to do, because you add that full buy item in at the end. Yarkor loves to play this aggressive style. World's MVP. It feels like this is the type of moment this King Arthur wants to be able to run at his targets, and he's got the items to do so.
Yeah, definitely. The people doing damage to him right now is Pagon, and that's it. That's all you got right now. You have a level 17 Thoth, Chronos Pendant, Divine Ruin, and Soul Reaver finish, so some big HP chunking. Yep. We just haven't seen Pagon rotate to many fights because the Jade Dragons have not been in the driver's seat for quite some time. That Pyromancer went down. Now Primal Fury about to spawn in about 15 seconds. Panatom has the vision, got the oracles down, so even if for some reason the Jade Dragons tried to sneak this, it just would not go well. There's too much vision on the left side of the map. They've got more money, which means they can buy more wards, and that means they have so much control. Panatom's hiding at red buff right now, just waiting to see if anyone will step up into that taunt, into that 9 turns blessing, but it looks like the fight will begin as Yarkor is heading over as well. This Primal Fury could be what they want.
Yeah, it's what the Leviathans are hovering around. Polar Bear Mike into life of the party, but Zapman cancels the ultimate with a stun, and Mike will have to back away. Frenzy gets used by Rongyu. Should be a comfortable moment now for the Leviathans. The one kind of, quote, tank for the Jade Dragons has to go back to base. Mike is able to finish up the mask and pick up a glowing emerald later on in the build, so he'll build up some of that tankiness. But I think smart here, Trelly. I don't know if the Jade Dragons have enough strength to fight against the Leviathans for something like a Primal Fury, anything like that right now, and maybe smart to let that one go.
Yeah, I don't think there's really any opportunity to step up. We've seen that Yarkor rotates over to the left, Final K stays in lane, pushes as far as he can. If Zapman goes over, Panda Cat also tries to stay in lane, push as far as he can. The gold lead is not shrinking, though. You see the level 17 of AMC up against the level 19 King Arthur, and the same looking in that duo lane.
Do you think that this Dragons comp, though, is going to scale to a point where eventually in this game, when if things do stabilize a bit. We're all level 20, we're all getting close to full build. Do you think the Dragons are now playing for that moment in the game, or is this composition not that much more exciting later on in the game?
It definitely gets more exciting. You have a Jingwei on your team. That has to be the late game carry potential, and Pagon always is going to be able to one-shot, you know, Shinto and Zatman if that opportunity presents itself. So it does get better, but not to say the Leviathans draft also doesn't get better. They have a Freya, they have an actual tank. Panatom is wrapping around here.
And they've got a River's Rebuke. Taunt out from Panatom. Life of the party from Mike. Doesn't get much done. I'm looking for beads that are down. They're all up, and looks like some CC immunity, some jumps out, things like that for the Leviathans, just able to get out of the initiation. Trebuchet doing some serious work here in mid. That'll knock down. It's gonna need one more, isn't it? No, it did it. The Trebuchet has enough damage to get rid of the tier 1 tower. The rest of the team here from the Leviathans and the Jade Dragons, but Dragons will have to back off. So the Trebuchet finding some value for the Leviathans, knocking down the second tower of the game. Both tier 2s open, both mid and right, and the Jade Dragons kind of just have to watch it go as the gold lead builds up to about 6K.
Yeah, this is the issue with grouping up 5v5, fighting over essentially nothing, a tier 1 tower. You don't get any farm, you're not pushing minions, and you're not able to extend your build at all. Sanford Soccer has 3 items right now, which is just not what you want to see from your jungle. Not to say that Panatom doesn't also have 3 items, he has 4 items, and they're better items at least.
That's one more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's got actual late game shred, whereas Sanford Soccer is so hard to get to the back line and actually do all this damage. The tankier targets on Leviathans are just simply tankier. That's the main problem. You're up against 3 tanks, whereas the Jade Dragons have 1, and it's PBM, and he has his Spirit Robe and his Lono's Mask, but he had to spend all of his money upgrading the relics for the squad. That Phantom Shell was pretty necessary. If you're trying to keep your immobile characters alive, you need to be able to run through the River's Rebuke, and PBM had to use that, and now he's not quite as tanky.
Zatman had just over 3K gold, goes back, buys a full Rod of Tahuti all at once. Freya's officially reached that point where you're worried if you're the Jade Dragons. Okay, Frenzy and Shred damage means Fire Giant. I would say out of nowhere, because it did just kind of happen out of nowhere, but the Leviathans clearly in enough control of this game to just pull that at will. A couple towers go down on left, though. Jade Dragons just trying to pull back as much gold as they can at this point. It's going to be a frustrating game for not only the Dragons, but Sam in particular. Feels like the game started off so well for this Susano. The impact all over the map. It just sort of individually fell apart. And that one like map-wide swing where the Leviathans killed off everyone but Pagon all across the map really flipped around the pacing of this game, despite what was a good start for the Dragons. And this is going to be a high-value FG trail. I mean, there's still 4 towers left on the map, and such a massive gold lead already. I'm not sure the Dragons can put up a defense.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. It's just the way that Sanford Soccer was playing this seemed to be that he wanted to get active as early as possible and make sure that his late game team comes to dip there. Zapman going to take a lot of damage, and he's just deleted.
Wow, Zap had beads, Aegis, and ultimate, but no one from the Leviathans on that side of the map. That does slow things down. I mean, that's some tower shred that's now missing. Leviathans still have, of course, Panatom and a gold lead, and Yarkor on left.
And Shinto's the hunter anyway, so.
Right, yeah, Shinto's got all the hunter damage. Looks like a tier 2. Oh, he's going to get worked on, but it's taking a minute. I think the Jade Dragons have an opportunity to step forward and keep that tower on the map. They do. You got 3.5 minutes, though, on the Fire Giant buff. So how impactful does that Zapman pick end up being? Sort of remains to be seen. If nothing else, did slow down the Leviathans, so a nice win for the Dragons.
Yeah, I would definitely say no reason for Zap to be there, and great play by the Jade Dragons to capitalize on it. And if nothing else, just stalling the Levi's, saying, hey, you got 2 minutes on this Fire Giant buff. What can you get in that time? We vastly shorten that for right now. You see that Zapman's up in about 3 seconds. There's an Oni Fury spawning in here shortly. They're definitely going to want to grab that just to push up these waves as far as possible. But the starter item upgrades are starting to come through here. Yep. Fine, okay. His build's looking decent right now with the Bluestone Brooch. We saw Sanford Soccer build a full Erendite, trying to speed himself up and give vision to the whole team once his ultimate goes down. And Pagon hit level 20, so all good things for the Jade Dragons, besides the fact that this Oni Fury goes down. The main issue is the fact that Zapman really isn't your main tower damage. When you have a hi-rez Lament Uller, he's the one who's going to be shredding through your objectives. Still going to have to defend. can't step up to the tier 2 tower, but that tier 1 tower, I mean the tier 2 and mid rather, you could try and defend.
And yeah, that's a quick tier 2 tower. I wonder, so a minute and 15 seconds left on the Fire Giant buff. Minion wave is here. I wonder if the Leviathans do try to force a Phoenix Siege here. Set up this Phoenix being down.
That's risky.
For the next Fire Giant that's going to be up. And it looks like just taking the time of the Dragons to get them over on left opens up the opportunity for a tier 2 and mid to go down. Does seem like it would be risky. Does seem like the Leviathans would agree. So if this game goes to the next Fire Giant, the Jade Dragons are going to be fighting at an even larger deficit than they were on the first one. Won't be enhanced in all likelihood. That's where the game of chess, as I like to call it, comes out, and the Dragons got to decide if they're strong enough to contest that Fire Giant, or they like their chances better beneath the Phoenix.
I did not expect Mike to grab the Shield of Regrowth. I really thought he would go for something to keep him alive longer, just protections-wise, but wants to be faster as a Baron. It looks like trying to chase down some of the Levi's, but just blocked off. The Riptide completely shut that one down.
Different type of wall.
Yeah,
double
Ron,
Riptide.
you're not walking through here. He
Whoa.
just drops the ult to try and stall out. Mike is stuck though.
That is the actual type of wall that Wrong Use got. Throws up a River's Rebuke. Yarkor around all of the members of the Jade Dragons. Connects with an ultimate onto Fine. Okay, he uses the beats, but he was already in the air, now sprinting away thanks to Panda Cat. An airstrike used defensively as well. And the eject button mashed by the Jade Dragons the moment the Leviathans show their face. And that was a great opportunity. Death timer's relatively long at this point in the game. Fire Giant's going to be up in 45 seconds or so. And so a couple of picks there, back reset would have been great for the Leviathans, but the fact that the Dragons were able to stay on the map, a good boost for them in that squad. And I'll admit, Trelly, player damage took me completely by surprise here. I suppose when Final K is stuck in lane with Yarkor melee damage, you're going to farm up a lot of that damage, but my goodness, he's doubling up effectively everyone on the Leviathans. It's just maybe more health to shred through because of the way the Leviathan's comp is built.
Yeah, I would say it's that annoying poke damage that Wrong U is just healing up, so it just continuously adds up. They say, who cares about the honey? We can just walk over it, and that damage will keep adding up, but it's not doing that much, right? It hasn't netted any sort of kills besides the one on the Zapman, which wasn't even really the honey damage. That was just a good all-in by Sanford Soccer and Fino to make sure that goes down. But Fire Giant is spawning in here, and it looks like the Jade Dragons are grouped up and ready to defend. They don't have too much vision, just the one ward on the objective, which will soon be sentried and removed, but they're aware of where the Leviathans are. They're just going to sit here and say, maybe we go for a steal with Final Judgment. Maybe Sanford Soccer can blink into the backline. The only glaring issue I see at the moment is Final K's beads are still down for 80 seconds. They were grabbed just at the tail end of that Phoenix Siege, so they have a great target in the AMC who has no real protections, just a shell and some Soul Eater sustain.
This is a tough game for the Jade Dragons. I mean, kills-wise, not super passive, but objective-wise, it has been. Yarkor pulled up into the sky after the King Arthur somewhat low. He'll have teleport in 15 seconds, but that is a long time in Smite. Zapman into the Valkyrie's discretion has found some damage onto the backline. Actually, a decent step forward from the Jade Dragons, who are 11,000 gold behind, but Fino K has found Zapman on the back. Half HP is the Freya with no ultimate, and a great-looking start to a fight from the Jade Dragons.
Yeah, that was a root sprint that was able to force the ult from Zapman, and now Fire Giant is being pulled, but the Levi's, they're not too weak that they can't try and defend this.
Yarkor is in behind all of the Jade Dragons yet again. Couldn't get Mike, instead gets riptided away. Pagon has found the first kill onto Zapman. Yarkor trades out with the kill onto PDM, finally capitalizing on that low health bar, but it's happened again to Pagon, who is stunned out, and a knockup from Panda Cat as the Jingwei starts to walk forward. Damage needed by both of the teams here as low health bars abound in the Fire Giant pit, but it looks like a 1-for-1. Jade Dragons lose Mike, but they get Zap. The Fire Giant's delayed.
Yeah, they have a fair bit of sustain here, but there's no way the Leviathans feel confident enough to try and pull this objective. If Yarkor doesn't back and teleport into the backline full HP, that could have been a Fire Giant call for the Jade Dragons. As you highlighted, 11,000 gold down. They are at the moment. We're still able to find a solid pick there. So Zap steps up a little bit too far, doesn't want to use his relic, so he goes up into the ult, comes down, and then the root sprint came in. That's why he had to use that Aegis. He did hold on to the beads, so he was a little bit confident in trying to get out, or decided I'm just dead and not going to waste the beads for the next Fire Giant pull. Either way, it was enough to make sure that that Freya goes down. The Jade Dragons didn't really close up the gold lead during that, but what they did do was delay this Fire Giant to the enhanced variety, and now they've got some time to figure out if they can try and pull that off again. Polar Bear Mike did upgrade his starter. He's got the Sentinel's boon now, more HP. That's going to help him out a little bit trying to survive these fights. And the relics are coming back up, but slowly but surely.
Yeah, poke damage for the Jade Dragons, essential here. But again, sustain from Wrong You will help out with some of that. Brawler's Beat Stick for Fine OK slows down some of that healing. Divine Ruin, of course, for Pagon. The Leviathans look like hovering towards the Primal Fury instead. So should the Fire Giant get pulled, Primal Fury will help out, dropping that objective a little bit quicker. And there's ward coverage from the Leviathans around the Fire Giant pit as well. So no opportunity for the Jade Dragons to pull it. And the Primal Fury will go quietly over to the Leviathans. Not quite an 11,000 gold deficit fight a moment ago. The Jade Dragons now may be realizing that some of these carries have the opportunity to chunk down some of the healthier targets of the Leviathans if the opportunity strikes. Well, Mike has been sitting on the same exact build for a little bit here. Wrong, you never went back and finished up that cloak, but
Yeah, he still got that cloak.
It was because I said he would, that he's not now. Has Spectral Armor, and that's going to help out so much against Panda Cat. It really feels like a game of initiation now. Can Mike walk forward? Can Wrong You walk forward? The Jade Dragons are in the Fire Giant pit. And get it down to half HP. Mike into life of the party. Zapman uses Valkyrie's discretion. Wrong You uses the beats. Yarkort in alone. Typhoon will knock up the King Arthur, and Zapman has found the first kill onto Mike, who was left alone by the rest of his team. Panicat uses the beads around the stun, knocks himself up and pops the sprint, trying to get away from the Leviathans, but a whoop from Zapman wags its finger in his face. 2 kills to the Leviathans, and they'll double back for what we think will be the enhanced Fire Giant.
Yeah, that was just, I mean, I think the Leviathans finally realized, wait, we're up this much gold. There's no way that a Baron Samedi with 3 items can step up. There's no way that these tanks are going to be tanky. Zapman stepped a little bit too far too, but probably he was the one that said, guys, we can just fight this.
Yeah,
Enhanced
please.
Fire Giant will be going down. Panda Cat and Mike are both dead for quite some time, so the Leviathans are just going to run it down mid. They have Enhanced Fire Giant, so no backdoor protection is needed. Might as well push the minions because you have the time, but if played poorly, this could be the end of the game.
It could be, because really, you know, Mike is coming back, but again, it's been Mike who's sitting on 3 items for a little while, 4 if you count the upgraded starter. Panicat is still dead for 15 seconds, so it's about not losing any more of your team members right now if you're the Jade Dragons, because you will lose the game if you do. Yarkor has taken a heap of damage from Fine OK. Wrong You rooted in place. Again, chunked down, but just not enough. The Emoja's going to get pulled through, no beads, and that's the end of Wrong You's life and the start to a great defense from the Jade Dragons.
They got to chase this.
But all it is keeping the base alive because your mid-Phoenix is already gone. The Jade Dragons will attempt to chase. Beads forced off of Shinto.
Oh, if they did pull Shinto back,
Whoa.
then maybe they look to fight, and the axe comes through. They're trying to turn this.
That's
Zapman's
big.
gone.
That's massive from Zapman. Doesn't result in anything, though, because Fine OK has gotten the kill. How many triple banishes have we seen over the last couple of days? Add 1 to whatever the current tally is. And a big play by Zapman goes searching for some follow-up. The Jade Dragons lose their mid-Phoenix, but knock Enhanced Fire Giant off a couple members of the Atlantis Leviathans. Feels like, Trelly, there's a little drama to be had towards the end of this game.
Yeah, I mean, Shinto has no beads, and the Jade Dragons know he's trying to chase them down, but we'll just go for the red buff instead. You got about 230 left on this Enhanced Fire Giant and only lost the mid-Phoenix, so certainly could be worse. If you're looking at the builds-wise, nowhere really to go for the Leviathans. The Jade Dragons would love a few extra items. I think Panda Cat would love a finished Deathbringer, and Sanford Soccer would absolutely love a Magi's Blessing, trying to use a little bit of extra CC immunity on the Susanoo because the beads are down for a minute or so. Given that moment, I think the Jade Dragons could get a little bit of extra damage online and try and stop the aggression from the Leviathans, but with a Phoenix down like this and Enhanced Fire Giant still on 3, Yarkor, Panatom, and Shinto still have a fair bit of damage onto these Phoenixes specifically, so you can split up the Jade Dragons pretty easily. You can say, hey, there's minions in mid, someone's going to go right lane, and we're just going to overwhelm you with our buffs and things like that. So Leviathans are going to go for one more siege on the left side of the map.
Yeah, why not? You are waiting on your beads to come back if you're Sam, but also, I mean, you just pointed out there, Charlie, a couple of the carries for the Leviathans needing some of their safety net as well. Far from guaranteed for the Leviathans. You have to watch Mike, though, because life of the party, while hasn't hit pay dirt that often this game, has been good as a distractor. And Rongyu only punished last fight because of the lack of beads from the first fight that we saw just a moment ago. Looks like Panatom and Yarkor heading down mid. Oh, a Trebuchet plus some minions will work their way down the right side of the map. Mike throws up the life of the party and will have to back away. Beads end up getting used by Rongyu and Valkyrie's discretion from Zapman. So Zap doesn't have beads or ultimate for the next 30 seconds. Maybe a small opening for the Dragons.
Yeah, I think Sanford Soccer's blink just came up, so could be an option here. But Panatom's just running it down mid at this point. The minions are in and the Titan is taking damage.
Oh, this is going to get awkward. Look, the Jade Dragon's starting to get funneled behind their left side Phoenix. River's Rebuke is up, and that is a funnel. Plus Frenzy equals dead Phoenix. And the Jade Dragons just trying to keep themselves on the map. The only way they're going to have a chance coming back into this game is not losing fights like that. But the macro scales now tilt even further towards the Leviathans, especially in the next minute and 15 seconds when the Dragons have to choose whether or not they step up to the Enhanced Fire Giant, how you're going to deal with the left side fire minions. Leviathan should have a good opportunity at the next FG and maybe ending things out here in game 1.
Yeah, now the mid Phoenix will be spawning back in though, so the Jade Dragons won't have to worry about that for some time. You got a minute, no, you got a few minutes, 2 minutes and 30 seconds until that Enhanced Fire Giant respawns back in. So once the buff peters out, which it did, there's going to be some time where you really want to look at, will the Jade Dragons form a defense, or will they just say, hey, we've been sort of staying alive here, we've been sort of stalling as much as possible in our base. Is that still the continued plan, or do we try and steal away this objective? Do we try to look for a fight out of the Titan? I think if the Phoenix isn't there, the Titan surely would fall in. I think the Jade Dragons have answered my question for me. They're waiting for a pick. They're hiding, and Yarkor might spot them out here.
Yeah, he might. Zapman just avoids the root. Sanford Soccer's got the bubble now, so at least we'll avoid a little bit of CC, and then also has beads, because it has been just so difficult for the Susano to get in and initiate and engage. Luckily, the carries for the Jade Dragons, the one out of the solo lane, as well as the mid lane, have done just immense damage to the Leviathans, kept them at bay. Shinto's really stepped up. Zapman started to scale up nicely. Yarkor's looked all right as far as tanking up some of that damage. This Fire Giant's going to be quick. And there's no drama about this one. The Jade Dragons will back away. An Enhanced Fire Giant, number 2. Go to the Leviathans. A limping mid lane Phoenix could be an option, right side as well. It's about to get real awkward for the Dragons.
I would say so. They have a fair bit of range. They've got great wave clear with the AMC and the Thoth. But man, the tanks of the Leviathans have just been so disruptive. Rongyu always hitting a nice River's Rebuke to either say, hey, you're trapped in, or you can't touch us, and we were able to just get your objective for free. The mid Phoenix will fall in a few auto attacks. The right one is the only one the Jade Dragons really can try and defend here. And I think it'll be a few seconds before fire minions start pouring in, and that's when the siege will probably begin.
The fire minions on left, normal wave of minions in mid. That'll be remedied by the now spawning fire minions in just a moment. My goodness, that is damage out of Shinto, sends Pandacat right back to the fountain. Luckily for the Dragons, there was no immediate threat on the right side Phoenix. Mike has thrown up the life of the party. Zapman has beads, has Valkyrie's discretion, uses the ladder, and he'll drop down. Rongyu gets rooted in place as well. Pandacat left back in base to deal with some of the minions. And now in goes Sanford Soccer on the double pull, but Zapman, through both of his actives, he won't die. But he does have to leave this fight. This is the best looking defense the Jade Dragons could have hoped for. Unable to find a kill, but do slow down the onslaught from the Leviathans.
Yeah, Shinto threw some damage back in, and that was the end of the chase for the Jade Dragons. With Rongyu's healing, I think they will be able to stick around here. Zapman got very low, doesn't have relics or ultimate. This would be time to try and feed the defense, but Panatom wrapped around.
Mike doesn't have his initiation. River's Rebuke thrown up by Rongyu. Mid lane Phoenix, right side rather, is going to go down here as Yarkor wreaks havoc in the backline, but the Jade Dragons have had enough of it. Pandacat with an auto sends him to the grave. Panatom a 3-man taunt in, but it hasn't brought anything but death to his own doorstep. Polar Bear Mike looking for one more engage. Jade Dragons won't have it, but 2 fire minion waves walking into the Titan room. Pandacat barely survives. Someone's got to get back here to clean up these minions. Shinto walking towards the Jade Dragons Titan. Does he have the damage? He does on the final K, puts him down, deletes the Titan, and the Leviathans take game 1.
I think it was a bit of a comp diff for me, Dave. I think the Jade Dragons were able to siege decent defenses once they got online, but they were always playing at such a differential. The Jade Dragons were trying. They had the damage to sort of come back in at that final Phoenix Siege, but at that point you have 2 Phoenixes down, Fire Minions are destroying your Titan, and they weren't able to chase that far. They could go maybe to that blue buff before they realized we have to turn back. There's just so much happening here.
Yeah, map state was just not good for the Jade Dragons down the stretch. And think about how we got there. I mean, this is a relatively low kill game. You're getting into the 20-minute mark. It's like 9-4, 9-5 in kills. Really map play by the Leviathans felt like it just took over the Jade Dragons. The farm, the objectives, all of it builds up. You know, like 11,000 gold lead. A great look at a game 1 for the Leviathans. Can they go back-to-back? Can they repeat against the Jade Dragons? Not the World Championships yet, don't worry. They're looking for the 2-0, though, over the Jade Dragons coming up right after this.
battle in game number 1, but the Leviathans are able to come out on top over the Jade Dragons, and all of that thanks to our friends over at Alienware, providing the PCs that our pros are playing on here in the studio, as well as the ones that our production and the players also get to play on at their own homes. So make sure you check out Alienware at Alienware on Twitter and Instagram. Their social medias, go to alienwarearena.com, and also go to smitegame.com/Alienware. That way you guys can check all the offers that they have for you, and use code AWSmite09. I almost gave out the old code. It's been so long since we had it out there. Remember, it's AWSmite09 is the new code for you guys to check out all the great things that Alienware has brought to us. So thank you so much, Alienware, for coming back in Season 9 of the SPL. It's J-Mac and Mifflin. Game number 1, a long battle. J-Dragon started out pretty hot, and then a near deicide across the map by the Leviathans, a fight in solo, transitions to a fight in mid, and then all the way over to in the duo lane. From that point, Leviathans have control of the game, but the J-Dragons at least kept it close near the end.
Yeah, I think the Jade Dragon's strategy going in after having seen how that draft plays really was get to that late game. Once we're full build, good luck walking into us, right? Like the damage output of that Jade Dragon's composition, had they been allowed to get to that 25 some odd minute mark, would have just been ridiculous. But that plan is contingent on one thing, and it's the Leviathans not getting overly active in the early. And that's the exact thing that happens in game 1. The Leviathans net themselves a couple objectives, some great team fights, and it really slowed down the Jade Dragon's game plan. And then by the time that team fight phase had rolled around, 30 some odd minutes in the game, I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, the Jade Dragon's draft is starting to work out. And then the other concern that we had during the initial death segment of who's initiating these fights, it's Baron Samdi. What happens if that Baron Samdi just dies on his initiation? Well, that's exactly what happens in the clip on your screen right now. Mike goes for the pool, immediately dies, and the entirety of the Jade Dragon's draft crumbles around him. They no longer have anyone that can create space for these immense damage dealers. So the Leviathans come out ahead in the team fight phase, and I think it just comes down to the Leviathans' initiation was easier to execute on. It could have been Panatom, it could have been Yarkor, it could have been Rongyu, whereas the Dragons had one avenue, and he was dead.
There were signs of life, at least out of Sanford Soccer. Did find some massive typhoons on reinitiation into the fights, but I think you're right to highlight the fact that there were 3 different people on Leviathans with 3 easy routes to be able to get those team fights started and keep them going. The sustain from Rongyu, the damage output out of Zapman. Well, maybe not the highest this game. Shinto will definitely take that amongst his team. 30K out of the Ullr. Final K right ahead of him, though, at 31 with that AMC in the solo lane. But this comes back to the conversation we have every time that we talk about the Dragons. Are we going to see these double, triple Hunter comps? Do they work? More often than not, as of recent, they haven't been working out as well. So now we wonder, do the Dragons go to a much more standard composition, a much more traditional? As history indicates, that's typically what happens when they go down in these game 1s with this style of composition. So then, Mifflin, where exactly do they try and piece apart and kind of dismantle what the Leviathans have done so far in game 1?
Get wherever that Freya is. Get active on that guy. And getting active in the early game has been the win condition for the Jade Dragons of the past. I wouldn't be surprised if Final K starts to transition towards a more standard warrior. The King Arthur has done very well for him, and that would alleviate some of the issues of the Jade Dragons composition being lacking in initiation. Just having that King Arthur there to start up the fights. You can keep Polar Bear Mike on that Baron Samdi, have him be that in-combat healer / ranged initiator for your team. Because I think the multi-hunter composition idea is good. Like, hunters are in a pretty good state right now. You could dictate the enemy team's build. You're at least forcing a couple spectral armors. That's good. Get a third hunter in the mix, and all of a sudden you are making massive concessions as your team composition. Yeah, and I'm not certain that that's always going to work out. Has in the past. You can catch people off guard with it. But I would like to see triple hunter style drafts be that, okay, we want to bring it out once in a blue moon, and people aren't really super certain on how they want to address it. With the Jade Dragons going to it as consistently as they have, it gives over time to every other single team in the league to say, well, it's worked for them. How do we address it? How are we going to strategize against it? They can start devising these plans, and the Leviathans clearly did so, and it makes that composition a little bit harder to execute on.
Well, Dragons will start taking away some of the puzzle pieces from the Leviathans in game number 1. Yamoja banned away by the Dragons, so not going to let Rongyu have his still now 100% win rate Yamoja. And Mifflin, as a competitive player, I'll ask you, when you go up against a team with a player that has an undefeated win streak on a god, whether it be 5 games, 10 games, so whatever, are you one of those players who would like to give it to them just so you could be the one to break that streak, or would you rather just not take the risk and ban it away?
Well, that's a multifaceted question, and unfortunately for you, you're talking to a freak right now.
Oh, I know.
So here's the thing about how I would stand on that. I was a jungler, and if another jungler had an undefeated god, I'm saying that guy's butts. I'm better than him. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get active. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, and I'm gonna ruin his streak. If it's any other role in the game, I'm like, yeah, just take it away from him. Like, it's that direct opposition that got me going. But wrong you on Yamoja. Even my own personal ego wouldn't want me lining up against that.
Well, maybe it's a good thing that you and the Dragons align with that mentality. It and the Erlong Shen banned away. Leviathans still continue to put bans up against Sam for Soccer. And last game, it was 3 bans dedicated to him in the first slot, and then 2 bans dedicated in the second round, being both magical-style junglers. Nemesis, the one that's still remaining, and still the one that gets through. The Leviathans banned the Uller instead, not wanting to give that one away. But with the Emoji and the Erlong slotted in, that leaves open the Chernobog for the Dragons to grab first.
So some global presence, some flex potential, some phenomenal scaling into late game, great survivability. Chernobog first overall for the Jade Dragons, affords them that flex. So the Leviathans not learning too much about this composition. The Jade Dragons could very easily still build a standard draft around this, have the Chernobog go over the dual lane, get a mage in mid, get a warrior in solo. Or they could just have Chernobog in the solo lane and go back towards this double or triple hunter compositions. The Leviathans, I think, in a position where they should just stick to their own guns, play the same style that we saw last time around, and force the Jade Dragons to be the ones to make these adjustments.
Leviathans dipping into a little bit of their bank time to go for their first 2 picks. With that Chernobog flexibility in 3 different roles, whether that goes to solo, the duo lane, or the mid lane, the Leviathans will not hold much ambiguity with theirs. Bellona right out the gate means that Yarkor is going to have something powerful over in the solo lane to deal with some of these hunters, and then a Jing Wei to get things going for the Leviathans. Now with this Bellona locked in, we've more often been seeing the Jing Wei, if not in the duo lane, has been that solo, so likely a safe pick for Zapman right out the gate.
Yeah, I like this Bellona lock-in. It's essentially saying, hey, the Jade Dragons might go to the triple hunter, and if they do, good luck. Scourge is just a really good disarm tool, makes these auto attack style compositions even harder to execute on. And worst case scenario, it's not that style of draft for the Jade Dragons, and you just have a Bellona. That's not a feels bad, man. That's a feels pretty all right, man. You've got decent lane bully potential. Could go towards the Golden Blade laner and be that guy who can rotate throughout the map, or you can go down that standard Death Toll tree and just stick in the lane and force people to rotate towards you. No matter what, Bellona is a god that is going to have a home in this meta, but I like how it is going to make the Jade Dragons think about their next selections.
A few choices to be made. Nemesis was left open by the Leviathans this time, not banned away. And so Sam will get to have a traditional assassin and one of those Golden Blade abusers in the jungle, and then a Fafnir to add to the mix. The god that's popped his head up a few times so far, at least in this phase. We saw him rear his head during Masters as well, when these multi-hunters, these attack-style assassins had made their way into the meta, and will now make his home here with the Jade Dragons.
I wonder how this makes the Leviathans think about the draft, because Nemesis and Chernobog on their own are pretty good for Fafnir to get value from Coerce, but Fafnir does always benefit from having even more auto attackers on their team. So the Leviathans, after they take this next pick, can think about the bans in the sense of, hey, we can either dedicate a couple towards the hunters. Wouldn't be surprised if AMC catches a ban here, as he's got some pretty good mid pressure, which would still allow Chernobog to play into these side lanes. Wouldn't be surprised if we see some magical hunter bans either. Freya would really benefit from a Coerce, Oleron, all the standard criminals or suspects, if you would.
Well, I was going to, before the Khepri get locked in, see if maybe Xing Chen was a possibility for the Leviathans as well, seeing at least a couple auto attackers, but it will not be the case. Khepri does get locked in for the Leviathans going over to Wrong Yu, so a few gods that can still be targeted out. You can throw some mid lane bans over to Pagon for as many as you are willing to throw that way, but instead they'll follow down your similar mindset of banning away some of these magical hunters. Freya going to be the first one taken away, which maybe is a little interesting considering that, it was the Leviathans who played this pick last time around. Zapman found some good success, but with the Jing Wei, maybe unlikely that the Freya would go over towards Zapman. Jing Wei hasn't really seen much of a home in the mid lane as of late. We have seen the Freya mid, though, so I don't know. Always keep some intrigue as possibility.
Yeah, Freya just doesn't scream Shinto to me. You know what I mean?
You know, that's very fair.
It's not. I want to see Shinto on his nukers. If the Leviathans were going to go towards an auto attacker in mid, I think AMC probably way more fits his style. And then the Jade Dragons seem to agree. They're going to go ahead and target out some of Shinto's selections, Yu Huang taken off the table. And that is a good ban from the Jade Dragons. You want this Nemesis getting involved early on. You want a target that this Fafnir can close gap on and create situations where you're pressuring out those beads or you're pressuring out those ultimates. And Yu Huang having as many survivability tools as he's got would make it very difficult for the Jade Dragons to find that pressure in the early. So they just take it off the table.
Speaking of gods that have some nuke capabilities, at the very least, Hell is taking a ban from the Jade Dragons, and Thoth from the Atlantis Leviathans, so a little bit of intrigue in that aspect, making sure to keep some of the sustain away from the Leviathans and some of that long-range burst that Pagon was able to bring last game. Still maintained a fairly strong KD by the time the game rolled around for the Dragons. The mid laner Pagon able to play very safely on that pick, so maybe no surprise the Leviathans take it away. And currently hovering Robin, if I'm not mistaken, a little bit of a buff towards Robin this patch, but who cares about that? Arachne locked in by the Leviathans. Tell me a bit about this pick, because we do not see this god very often.
I'm going to answer your first question.
Okay.
I care. I love Robin. I was really excited to talk about him.
When we had that this or that, I was all about the Robin Shredder skin, just saying. But
I would have loved to have seen a Robin here. Not necessarily the greatest composition to play into as Robin, so Arachne makes a bit more sense. She's got some 1v1 potential up against Nemesis. The second ability going to deal with that Nemesis shield fairly well. Great chase potential, good early game presence. One of those guys that really utilizes Golden Blade to its fullest extent, and it just synergizes really well with that movement speed around this god. But I am concerned about how well she's going to be able to stick to these members of the Jade Dragons in the mid to late game team fight. Arachne has always been the kind of hit and run. I'm going to go in. I'll find my opportunity. I hope they're distracted. I'll land a couple auto attacks. If they turn on me, I'll use that ultimate to disengage. But now with Chalk locked in, his space control is really good. He can just summon the Reigns, make it even harder for this Arachne to maneuver around the map. Potential now for the Jade Dragons to go for like a double silence team fight. 2 Chalk ultimates, incredibly disruptive, really, really hard to deal with. And then you've got the kill potential to finish off, I should say, between Nemesis and Chernobog. So I like what the Jade Dragons have gone for. Much more standard composition, and I think they will benefit from that pretty greatly. The only question mark I have for this Leviathans draft, because top to bottom, Bellona, Jingwei, Khepri, Tiamat, you're not complaining about any of those. That Arachne, though, it's going to have to perform.
Yeah, that's kind of the big question mark, I think, between you, between me, and even the fans at home, because Arachne is not a god that sees a lot of competitive play in general, whether that's at the SPL level, even the SCC level. This god doesn't make her way up there. She's much more known as that pub stomp style of god. You get your casual games, you build a couple items, you know, gank mid lane, dual lane as soon as you hit level 2, but we've been seeing a lot more of the junglers sticking with the mid lanes, or at least the first couple of levels over anything else. So, for the Leviathans, for this Arachne, where do you put that pressure on the map? Do you try and get active and keep this Chernobog down? Do you try and keep this Morrigan down?
It's so hard for Arachne to fight Chernobog because he's got ways to deal with the stun. Just hide inside the wall until that stun wears off, or if you're taking damage from the dot, hide inside the wall until that stops as well. So if I were playing the Arachne, the places I would try and put the pressure is either around this Nemesis, follow her around her own jungle, make sure that Sanford Soccer isn't allowed to play his own game, or even potentially, and this is early game, maybe look towards this Chalk. It's a bit telegraphed where he's teleporting. You could set up the spiders pretty well for chase down potential. Even the teleport not really breaking those webs means that you can stick with them pretty easily. Once you get a couple of defense items, though, that sustain from Chalk, that defense, the CC immunity, the ultimate, all going to make it pretty hard for this Arachne to perform. So, bought a lot of time for myself. You'd think I'd have a good answer. Chalk or Morrigan, I think, are probably the best early game targets.
Okay,
or
so
Nemesis.
Okay. Maybe sticking a little bit towards the right side of the
60% of their draft.
60% of the draft. Not the other 40% that's on the opposite side, though. Not the Fafnir, not the Chernobog on the Jade Dragons. And the Jade Dragons, they've got to find an avenue back into this game against the Leviathans, going down after a 40-minute slammer of a game in game number 1. Got to be tough on the teams being able to have, just the kind of the momentum to come back from those kind of deficits. It was close for a little while, then the lead exploded out of control. The Dragons still able to find some of those big team fights in the latter half of the game to keep themselves at least kicking for a while. And then, unfortunately, when you're down 2 Phoenixes and fire minions are pushing into the Titan, makes it a little bit hard for a team to kind of come back into there. So if you are the Jade Dragons, what's kind of your window to jump back into game 2? Maybe we don't get a chance for you. We'll have a chance at least for Dave and Trelly, though, to talk about that. Trelly, what's going to happen here?
I forgot what question J-Mac just asked. What did he say? How do the Atlantis Leviathans win game? No, how do the Jade Dragons get back into things in game 2?
Well, I'll answer your question. I don't remember what he asked. So,
that's what I'm asking you.
Okay, great. Well, I'll tell you. The desk highlighted the Arachne has to get active early, has to find some value with these
Leviathans,
webs.
So I want to know the Dragons.
Oh, you asked about the Dragons?
Yeah. Oh, wait, no, I asked about the
I thought you did.
I have no idea.
I thought you asked about the Lions.
No, I did. You're right. J-Mac asked about the Dragons, but I am curious. We have to talk about the Arachne, and I cut you off, so please tell me about the Arachne. I see this in my ranked games, that it runs my ranked games because no one knows how to deal with it.
Right.
How do you deal with an Arachne? What does Panatom need to get done?
Well, what I can tell you is the reason you see Arachne in your ranked games and not in the pro scene is because your ranked gamers aren't looking out for the webs. They're not checking their corners early on. They just play the game. The Jade Dragons are very well aware that Panatom wanted to set up some webs in the early and didn't let that happen. So now you're not seeing any level 2 cringe gank from the Spider. Just going to be a normal jungle start. Still brings tremendous early 1v1 potential up against Pagon and Sanford Soccer, but the Nemesis is going to get that pressure in the lane right now. The AoE auto attack from Pagon is going to help clear out this wave as well. Tiamat, not the best in the early, so I imagine the pressure going the way of the Jade Dragons for a bit until Panatom is able to find some ganks, and it looks like Yarkor rotates over, and Sam was aware.
That was important for Sam to stay out of combat for just a second there. I'm not sure without that blink, Sam gets out and avoids being first blooded, but he does, so he does, and he's able to get out of harm's way. So yes, of course the jungle matchup important to highlight throughout this game, but I do think we like the fact, or at least are happy with the fact that what we talked about at the beginning of game 1, where if the style of comp from game 1 did not work for the Dragons, they might return to something a bit more standard and see if that works. And they do. So, you got a more standard mid for Pagon, Panda Cat on the Chernobog, which has been working for a lot of ADCs in the league. I guess Final K is on something more standard as far as class goes, but the specific warrior may be a bit off of standard from what we've seen.
Yeah, I think this comp does so much more for me anyways. I think the Jade Dragon just have a much better early. They can hold their ground, try and farm till late game. Sanford Soccer can get active and not be afraid that he's going to be the only one going in, that sort of thing. And Pagon on a much better, pick that he could do things on his own. Whereas Thoth really doesn't have the DPS to say, I'm going to solo carry this fight. I think Pagon can very easily, invis into the back line, find a stun into the Dark Omen, and then turn into a double Nemesis. You could be double Chalk. You could even turn into the Arachne if you really want some solid engage as well as good disengage. So I think this is just a much better draft, the whole through and through. And it really just depends on where Sanford Soccer is starting to get active at. Right. There's a teleport on the side of Yarkor, so if that Eagles Rally ever gets forced out, you have a pretty solid opportunity to find a kill in that solo lane. Just this comp's just doing so much more for me.
Well, and Sam will get his blink back here in the next 35 seconds or so. Should be pretty closely in line with when Sam gets ultimate online as well. And so there are going to be some priority targets for that ult to drop onto. I still look at the disruption factor of this Khepri, though, as so dynamic for the Leviathans. The Death kind of conversation about it, you taking away the Emoja, things like that if you're the Dragons. I think you have to at some point against Rongyu. Rongyu's just too good on that pick, and the rest of the team's so good at playing around it. It's fine okay on his own side of the lane, so not really an opportunity for Panatom to find much, though was able to make his way to the right side of the map undetected. Fine okay still will not overextend in that lane. Panatom is going to have to head on back. No blue buffs, nothing like that to invade. Just seeing if anything's going on over there towards the right side of the map. Polar Bear Mike's on the Fafnir here this time around. I'm sure happy to not be the solo tank. Yeah, I don't think Sam gets much more going in mid. And I think Fafnir great at enabling the rest of the squad around the Jade Dragons. Could look for some objectives, things like that, because that was missing from the Dragons in game 1.
Yeah, and can go for a more normal style of build. You don't have to rush the low nose mask to have some survivability on the Fafnir. You can just go into the Sovereignty, possibly a Witchblade, anything you really want on a traditional Guardian that just brings CC and survivability, whereas the Baron just, could not bring that. And I expect to see Panda Cat get a lot more active in this lane, more so than he was last time, because, the Freya was able to get ahead pretty early on. Zap was like 2-1 in that lane very early, whereas Chernobog and Jingwei, I think Chernobog's going to get the better of that matchup early. You are facing the Ichival build into the Transcendence build, so Panda Cat wants more power over attack speed. He wants to be able to use that influence across the map. There are a few bad matchups, whereas if Panda Cat ever dashes into the wall, Zap can just place the little, the updraft, the first ability, and just wait for someone to dash into it. It's really annoying, and I hate that matchup, so whenever I pick Chernobog, I try to make sure that Jingwei is banned for that reason.
An opportunity for Zap, man, but similar to Freya for Zap, you'd love to hang out on this Jingwei, scale things up a bit later on into the game. So both junglers now have hit level 5. By this time in game 1, both had shown some presence in a couple of the different lanes. Remember, Sam really started off game 1 pretty effectively. A couple kills rolling for the Dragons. Susana was hitting its mark. Just slowed down when the Dragons ended up getting all but wiped across the map. So you look for this Nemesis to get active earlier on in this game. Do wonder what the power curve maybe looks like for Panatom. Do you think you can get active around the same times as Sanford Soccer on this style of pick? Has Golden Blade able to farm up effectively, but gank-wise, can you see Panatom getting involved soon?
I mean, I think Panatom already could have got involved if there was an opportunity. If an opportunity presented itself, if someone's speeds were down and a dash was forced and ult, something like that. But Fine OK has been very safe in the lane, not really teleporting too far up in case the spider was ever around. Has a good bit of sustain and just very hard to try and dive the Chuck. You always have to be, you know, one person covers the option, waiting for the teleport, one person chases him down, that sort of thing. I think Panatom just hasn't seen an opportunity yet because the Jade Dragons recognize there's a lot of early damage being thrown around with this Arachne. We don't want to step too far out of position. And Sanford Soccer is going to sit here and wait, maybe see if he can just force out Zap's ult. That's all he can really get here as long as Zapman's quick on the 4 button here.
Yeah, Sam is going to rotate way behind Zap. Slow, beads, knock up, dash, air strike. But Mike is around the wall here. Mike will transform. Zapman should make it back to the rest of the squad. That's smart from Zapman, and Scarab's blessing all the way back to Rongyu, but there's no safety in the back pocket of Rongyu. The Jade Dragons collapse in as 4 and are able to pick up a kill. And it was Pagon who used the transformation, ulted over as the Chernabog, and really made that a numbers advantage for the Dragons. First blood +1.
Why are they not on
over
gold?
the Dragons. They were.
They just dropped gold. Shinto completely gave it up. Panatom's trying to gank Fine OK. They had the Draconic Transformation. Did they just think they didn't have the DPS? I think that was as free of a Gold Fury as they come. Maybe, honestly, early Gold Furies, you can get more value by invading buffs, and I think that's probably the thought process here. Sam went to red, and Mike also went for the purple. So they didn't want to go for that early Gold Fury. They wanted to try and just deny as much farm as possible. They don't want to give Zap a clear avenue back into this game and not let his farm go. So could be a smart play. Maybe it'll work out for them as long as they stay on top of that buff timer and continuously invade that. And Fine OK was almost invaded, was almost ganked, and just didn't really work out. The Chalk is too tanky, at least has too much safety. Panatom steals away speed buff, but no kill onto the Chalk.
Good news for the Leviathans fans out there is that First Blood is really, that bounty is really the only difference as far as gold goes here in this game. Every once in a while you'll see First Blood, couple kills roll, and then all the farm, like, and you get a 1K gold swing, something like that, off of just one kill. Not the case to start off. So the Leviathans, well, not thrilled with the way that the first couple of kills had dropped. Absolutely not far and out of this game, especially when you get some of the stacking that Shinto is going to be looking for anyway, and actually the gold lead dropping back down. Haven't seen much Tiamat Trelly, which is interesting, but still feels like kind of that catch-all pick. You know, it's not fully out of the meta. Maybe not the first pick you're going to in mid, but still scales up nicely later on into the game. Shinto very talented on this pick. I suppose synergizes with the Warlock staff somewhat well. And I think as the game goes on, will be a threatening pick for this Leviathan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Tiamat, honestly. She doesn't bring anything overwhelming, but what she does bring is great damage late game, safety throughout the game. You know, you're not going to get overwhelming mid pressure. You're not going to bring a global rotation, but you are just going to bring solid mid lane damage throughout the game, and that's really what you're looking for on this pick. Shinto's been playing it for quite some time, ran the meta for a while, and still always going to be a decent pick to fall back to when you really don't know. And it's always safe to grab as well. You can say, hey, we're going to first pick this Tiamat. It doesn't open us into anything, any sort of counter matchup. It's always just going to be a safe pick there. As Panatom might look for Pagon here.
Yeah.
But the Spider is more interested in farm, and will just sort of look at lane and then run away. The webs can be very annoying if you get them onto Mori when she is invis, but as long as you're able to juke those out, Pagon's going to be pretty safe.
Gold Fury still stands, as we mentioned. Dragons had an opportunity. Let it drop. Probably won't see that get pulled, barring another nice team fight from either of these two teams. Mike is going to walk head first into a couple members of the Leviathans, but will be able to jump out just fine. Though it could be an opportunity for Sam, who has slowed down, hovering over towards the right side of the map. But Yarkor not at his blue buff yet. Sam will walk forward, steal that one away, and more unfortunate than anything for Yarkor's Fine OK will maintain the blue buff. So both junglers seemingly happy with the pacing of this game up to this point. A slight grouping from the Leviathans. Mike needs to be careful here. Enough CC could lock down a Fafnir. But all right. I think we're going to back things away, and the Jade Dragons content with just a couple of kills here. Pyromancer up on the map, and that tends to be where teams gravitate towards earlier on in these games. Gold Fury just too risky. objective burn-wise, one of these two teams could pull a slight advantage if they're able to grab an early pyro.
Yeah, I think the burn has to go to the side of the Jade Dragon just because Pagon can easily turn into the Arachne if need be, if you need more extra damage. Also could just turn into, Shinto if you need the Tornado to help with DPS and things like that. So as long as you are using all of your ultimates effectively, that Gold Fury will go down. And once again, Panatom comes over, sort of eyes up Final K and goes, we're not killing that, and just goes away. And that's
eyes up Panatom, or eyes up Final K times 8, because Panatom's got 8 eyes on the Arachne.
That is true, but
that is some of my best work ever. You should have said he eyes up Final K. Yeah, that one's run its course. I'm sorry. Pyromancer by the Leviathans. Thank you for bailing me out. And a fight. My goodness, it is just so easy for me. And Zapman taken down by Panicat. 3rd kill of the game to the Jade Dragons. First over to the ADC of the Jade Dragons. Is that advantage enough, though, to immediately pull the Gold Fury? Dragons seem to think so. And the Gold Fury is going to get pulled. Transformation from Mike out. Speeds up the objective burn.
Rongi just walked away.
That'll be it. Jade Dragons grab a kill, grab a Fury. At least the Leviathan's able to get Pyro on the other side.
Yeah, Rongi definitely looked over, saw the Gold Fury, and said, we can get purple if we hurry, but there's no way we're going to be contesting that. There's just too much presence on the right side of the map. It's fine, okay. Tried to defend its blue buff against the invade, and it looks like Panatom will be able to take away some farm, but this tier 1 tower is being looked at. Same for Soccer. Not really interested on the right side of the map right now, has been spending a lot of time trying to kill Zapman, had one successful gank, and another one coming through as well, so just spending much more time trying to make sure that Panacat can use that presence. And it helps out not only you and your jungler, or your laner rather, but Panacat can also just globally ult to anyone with this lead. So it's going to help out the whole squad in that instance. Panacat can just say, hey, I've got a lead, and Zapman has to push up this trebuchet, has to push up these waves. I can ult over whenever you guys want, and we can use that effectively. So Zap getting behind is going to help out the whole squad.
The rest of the map, though, feeling somewhat even despite the solo lane where Final K has a 1-level lead just through a couple blue buff steals, things like that. Farm going effectively for this Chalk, who starts Transcendence into the Glad Shield, Yarkor. Sometimes you see a Shogun, something like that, very early on the Bellona, but sticking with the Berserker Shield into Sovereignty is a good look at the start of the game here for Yarkor. A couple power spikes starting to get hit early on in this game. Deso completed for Pagon for some of that flat penetration. And an extra burst damage for Shinto. Soul Gem, second item out of that Tiamat. Could be Soul Reaver after the fact as well. So these next couple of items, Trelly, actually could be a decent spike for the Leviathans to fight around.
Yeah, I love this build because with the Warlocks, you have so much extra HP. The Soul Gem is going to consistently give you some sustain and also a little bit of burst damage and survivability, cooldown. Just, it helps out and it synergizes so well. If you are going to go for the Soul Reaver, usually after that you want the Charon's Coin or the Ob Shard. And then with the upgraded Sands of Time, you get full CDR with a Power Pod. So it's just a nice build that you can use to be survivable, but also dish out a ton of damage. I mean, I might as well just break that one down for you because it's an interesting buy, I would say.
Sorry,
was that not what you were wowing?
Did I throw you off with the wow? Yeah, I was not wowing. I mean, your analysis.
You weren't even listening.
No, I was. No, I was. Your analysis does wow me. But while I was listening, it was a very early Spectral Armor bot by Rongyu, which is what I was wowing. I'm not used to the Spectral being in that slot.
That's a good point.
So while Trelly, you do wow me every single day, and your analysis was correct and very on point. The early Spectral from Rongyu is really what shined out in my eyes and made me vocalize the wow. Suppose will help out, and that's exactly what Yarkor needs right now, as Pagon is here on right as well. Final K taking up the tower, plenty of damage, but an Eagles rally stuns down Final K. It's a matter of who gets it at this point. Panicat all the way over from left will ult in, deal the last bit of damage, and the Chernobog hits again.
Yeah, that's going to be a great kill for Panicat to have. And look at the left side of the map. Zap was so far back that he's not even going to lose the wave for that. This is why putting some pressure on that Jingwei just means that this Chernobog can just be so global and not get put behind in the slightest. Won't even miss maybe 2 minions to the tower if he hurries up. And the purple buff wasn't even looked at because Zap just can't step up from the wave right now. Given the fact that Spectral was built, I was looking around and seeing what may have caused that. Wow. And Sam for Soccer has the tier 2 2 Wind Demon, the Atalanta's Bow as well. So you're dealing with double crit, maybe not double ADC. And of course, if Pagon wants to turn into one of these ADCs or the Nemesis, you'll be getting crit from that side as well. So I think just a great purchase trying to make sure this Khepri can survive long enough to get the value off, survive long enough to get these Scarab's blessings off. If your Khepri dies first, you're losing 3 lives in that sense because you can't revive someone and you can't save them from the kill. So I think you want to make sure this Khepri's as tanky as possible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did my first WoW come off as like slightly derogatory? I'm sad if it did.
I wouldn't say that's what it was. I think to me, it's just like you were surprised at how much value Soul Gem got, and I was like, yeah, man, pretty cool.
Of course, I mean, that also was surprising. So I guess it could have worked.
I think it did work, and the more you bring it up, the more I think it was disingenuous.
No, it wasn't at all.
I didn't think it was, but now that we're here.
I'm nervous that you're like, yeah, I'm breaking this down, and Dave hits me with the flattest wow of all time while I'm trying to do my job, and I'm nervous that that's how it came up. So
it did.
All right, good. But now I've gotten that in your mind.
No,
oh God,
I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight.
I'm gonna be staring at my ceiling in bed, thinking of all the things I've ever done wrong, and this is gonna be at the top of my mind all day long. I'm sorry, Trelly. We can discuss more about it off camera though, and really get to the bottom of it, because could get our first look at a team fight here. Is FineOK assisted by Panicat on the ult in. Big knock, a big silence from the Chalk. But a reinitiation from the Leviathans on the back of the fight. Yarkor into the Scarab's Blessing, uses the beads as well. Looks like the Dragons left searching for a kill. What is up though? There's a Pyromancer on this side of the map. Would be early for a Fire Giant.
Yeah, PBM's in that Draconic Transformation, and all the Leviathans are healthy enough to try and defend that Fire Giant. Mike goes for it, and will take a bit of damage, but this Fafnir's tank, he should be able to leap out.
Oh, he does. Wrong you low, Sam. Yeah, he goes in. Gets the 5th kill of the game for the Jade Dragons. Panatom will ult out. So it should be a Pyromancer here eventually, plus a kill. Leviathans have some damage in these fights, just haven't quite had the legs, and the Jade Dragons have really controlled things. Better initiation. Love the look of FineOK back on a Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
And the Dragons now pull a pretty big lead here in this game. Was 4,000.
No shot.
And they're calling your bluff, Trelly. Fire Giant pulled by the Jade Dragons.
Yeah, will they commit to it is a question. Yarkor sniffs this out immediately. Doesn't have Eagles rally up. A Scourge is your best option, but here comes Zap.
It's about to have Eagles rally. Oh, the rest of the Leviathans are here. Fire Giant's low. You gotta come in. You gotta stick with it. And the Jade Dragons confirm the FG. But can the Leviathans find a reinitiation? Panatom taken low, taken down. Panacat's got it. And actually, it could be a good fight for the Dragons. Again, this game has been broken wide open. Yarkor searching for 1 kill, 1 Fire Giant buff to take away. He'll at least do that. But I'm not sure Yarkor will be able to do much more. Double kill for Panda. And Fire Giant remains on 4 of the Dragons.
Yeah, 4-0 is the Chernobog right now, being able to use this lead to the fullest extent. He just backs and flies right back in. Shinto could be in some trouble here. He does use the Aegis and has the leap away, but you're not going anywhere. Sam for Soccer on a killing spree. So the Jade Dragons looking phenomenally better than they were in game number 1. This team comp, I think, has helped them out a ton, and now that Oni Fury is certainly going to be on the chopping block as well. They haven't even backed yet. They won the fight. They went for Fire Giant. Panda does a quick back, flies back in, but they still have not backed and spent up that gold. Maybe a miracle steal from Wrong You, and it won't be the case. And the Jade Dragons climb ahead. Very close to, about 8,000 gold in the lead at the moment.
And that's exactly what we had for the Leviathans in game 1. The Leviathans built up this gold lead, actually right around this mark. And you're going to have about 3,000 gold for the members of the Jade Dragons to go back and spend. Sanford Soccer's about to hit a big power spike at 3.5k gold. He's going to be able to finish up that Wind Demon, what we assume to be the Wind Demon. Potentially a couple tiers in his next item as well. And you know, I don't want to harsh on the FineOK Hunters. That's not the point in this. But what a difference. The Initiator in your face. CC also doing some damage style of play looks like for FineOK. And I was wrong. It wasn't a completed Wind Demon.
He just built Deathbringer.
Sam just full buys a Deathbringer. And so Spectral Armor is going to be doing some work for Wrong You.
Yeah, I definitely think he'll be getting his money's worth with that item. It's not going to help him survive too much because there's just simply too much damage and shred on the side of the Jade Dragons. With the Fail Not proc from Pandacat as well. Anyone fighting around that Chernobog is going to have a good time critting. It looks like Yarkor could be in some trouble here. He's going to have the Juke Shoes, but there's just too much damage coming out from Pandacat.
Yeah, goodbye. Pandacat on a rampage. 504 on the Chernobog. Stun onto Zapman, and actually a bit of a wraparound by the Jade Dragons here can funnel the Leviathans underneath this tier 1 tower, but instead they're just buying time. for a couple members of the Dragons to push down this right side Phoenix. Can you even delay the backs? Panatom is in an awkward spot. Pagon and Panda able to deal damage to the right side Phoenix. Mike slows down the re-engage, but does get knocked up. Great map play here by the Jade Dragons. Just slow the rotation back from the Leviathans. Get the right side Phoenix. And a necessary Scarab's Blessing right into the knockup and damage from Fine-OK. And the Jade Dragons playing with wind at their backs. Knock down 2 more members of the Leviathans. They will get into the fountain, but we're just over 20 minutes. The Jade Dragons, you're not allowed to do this. You can't finish the game this quickly. This is not the meta that we've been playing in, but they smell blood in the water, and the Leviathans fighting with 3. The Jade Dragons fighting with 5. Mike gets taken down by Zapman, but Panacat, Pagon, they've got the damage onto the Titans. Say hello to game number 3.
Panacat 7-0 and Sam 3-0 as well. I just think that team comp makes all the difference. I'm not, I didn't say it on the broadcast, but right as I saw that draft, I said, we're going to a game 3, right when I saw what the Jade Dragons had.
I'm sure you did.
You heard me. I said it to you. This
sure.
guy. All right. Either way, I just knew right away that this comp was going to bring so much more than the previous. I think they looked on fire. As long as Sanford Soccer could get Zapman behind, put Pandacat ahead, he was able to use that global presence throughout the map. And wherever that Chernobog was, there was kills to be had.
Unfortunately for Arachne mains out there, we saw none of it here in game number 2. And really exchanged punches here from both of these teams. A really convincing game number 1 from the Leviathans. Goes a bit longer. This is like a Jade Dragons Season 8 style of win here. You're just over 20 minutes. You get a team fight. Think of those last couple moments where you slow the Leviathans. You don't let them get back to that Phoenix. Then you find a pick. Just an awesome play from the Jade Dragons. That brings us our second game 3 of the day. You don't want to miss it. Game 3 coming up next.
Hey, wait, what did it win?
You win the respect.
You're telling me an alien wore this?
Perfect. Okay,
that was a good cut.
Messaging him to mute.
The best graphics you really need, Ultra, of course, and I can probably watch a stream on the side.
Content's gonna look good. Pretty good, pretty good.
our potentially fastest game of Phase 2, maybe even of Season 9 so far. In less than 21 minutes, the Jade Dragons have steamrolled through the Atlantis Leviathans to take game number 2. And Mifflin, I think a lot of it comes down to what we were talking about beforehand, the worries and the struggles of what this Arachne could face, not being able to gank a Chernobog well, maybe not sticking up to this Morgan well, and unfortunately, we didn't really see Panatom get active at all on the map. I looked up 13, 14 minutes in the game, and he was sitting bottom of the player damage chart at around 800 damage at that time, and it didn't really get much better from there. And if you're the Leviathans, it's hard to find those kills and find those wins when your jungler's not able to get who's involved.
If you were ever wondering what a Smite game would look like if a jungler were on one team and not on the other, that's a pretty good example of it. Panatom really was not allowed to get active, and with all that space, everybody on the Jade Dragons were able to get active. Panacat utilizing his ultimate aggressively. FineOK making early rotations towards mid. Sanford Soccer going unchecked on the majority of his ganks. And I think that it's exactly what we were expecting, right? Like, the Arachne was the only question mark. Had it dominated, we would have been singing its praises. Had it established that early lead, maybe we're talking about a 2-game set, but it's a highly volatile pick, and this time we got to see the lower end. The Jade Dragons, on the other hand, execute perfectly on just punishing that lack of presence from the Leviathans jungler. Their team fights were incredibly clean. That having that more standard initiation really seems to have rounded out their play style. FineOK was really, really good at getting into that back line, creating space with the chalk. Those ultimates were hitting 2 or 3 people just about every single time. PBM with some phenomenal dragon transformations. I'm thinking all the way back to that earliest rotation where we saw an airstrike out from Zapman, and he just kind of lands into a dragon transformation. Just great play across the board. And when both teams are as good as these, and both teams have been playing as well as these, well, you're bound for a Game 3.
And Game 3, it will be a 7-0-5 for PandaCat to close out Game 2, 3-0-5 for Sam for Soccer. And looking just down the damage chart, you can see FineOK topping for his team, 18K. And unfortunately for Panatom, sitting at the bottom overall, 2,500 over the course of a 21-minute game is not going to get a whole lot of value out of the jungle out there. So adaptations, at least for the Leviathans, maybe find something that Panatom can get active on a little bit earlier on. Bakasura,
like anything else?
Bakasura may have been a good call. That way you can try and get active, get some very early jungle pressure out there. We'll see if the Leviathans make those adaptations in game number 3. Picks and bans are ready to go. And with the Leviathans, that first pick, maybe for the Jade Dragons, might change up a little bit about how their bans were going. They were taking the Yemoja out prior in that second slot, and maybe still holding on to that as a potential ban for the Dragons in this top 3, unless they feel that the Leviathans are willing to maybe not top pick it.
I'm thinking the Leviathans would probably top pick it, right? You got 100% win rate, God. You probably go towards it. I'm expecting potentially a ban onto Yemoja from the Jade Dragons. If that's the case, the Leviathans might be in a position to take Chernobog for themselves, which could help out a fair deal, be able to match some of that global presence that we saw from the Jade Dragons in the previous match. Or maybe we could see the Jade Dragons try and really limit Panatom's God pool. Seems like when Panatom isn't able to get the ball rolling, the Leviathans really struggle, but I doubt we see another pick like Arachne. There are so many plug-and-play, just standard junglers, things like the Gilgamesh that Panatom has gone into towards the past, Erlong Shen, if you want another initiator, standard Bakasura like you were talking about. So could be that we're really going to see duo emphasis in the first couple of picks.
First of bans right out the gate. Still, for the Leviathans, we'll focus out Sam for Soccer with 2 of them. The Nemesis was left open in game number 2, did really well for the Dragons in game 2, and now will be rightfully banned once again by the Leviathans alongside that Fenrir. Chernobog going to be banned by the Dragons, and not allowing the Leviathans to have a global pick first and foremost. And another thing I noticed in a lot of those early ganks and those early team fights out of the Jade Dragons, sure, they were swarming 3-4 people at a time up against 2, but every time that Rongyu did manage to get a revive onto somebody, there was always one person at the very least right by Rongyu ready to collapse in on that revive target. We saw it at the Fire Giant fight on the top end where Sam for Soccer was in the back end. Okay, I got my pick up there. At the Phoenix fight, FineOK was there with an ultimate as well. And even Zapman, when he decided, okay, I'm going to go down to the Gold Fury, which he probably didn't need to considering everybody had left him alone.
Whole team on Rongyu.
There was 4 people at Rongyu, and they both ended up going down.
Yeah, so potential. The Jade Dragons clearly showing that they know how to play against that Khepri, and given the opportunity to choose between playing against Khepri or Yemoja, they would take the Khepri if the ban phase is to be believed here. The Morgan going to be the third ban here for the Leviathans, a standard mage selection. taken off the board, limit some of those wombo combo style of drafts, no double chalk shenanigans, no double dodgy available, no double anything because we're in competitive Smite, and the Morgan's banned. So the Leviathans finding themselves a solid one in the third. But what will the Jade Dragons leave up and available? Khepri is a standout as of right now. King Arthur is a pick that could favor either one of these teams, with the majority of hunters, or the majority of global hunters already dealt with. Chernobog. Maybe Jingwei gets looked at. Now with Uhl taken off the table, maybe a hunter selection should be what the Leviathans are thinking of first overall.
Well, they will have the first pick, and it's got to be an important one for the Leviathans to at least get their foot forward up in this. And it's Mercury that got left open. Completely forgot that he was left open and available with the Morgan banned away. That's the first time that we've seen the Mercury left up by either team. So something completely different for Panatom now. Still an auto attack style god, but definitely one that can get much more active very early in this game.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to see Panatom go down that standard crit tree. I feel like on Mercury you essentially have to, but will that limit your hunter? Are we going to see Zapman go down that crit tree as well? If that's the case, you already have a Bologna on the side of the Jade Dragons to deal with these auto attackers, spectral armor, getting as many buffs as it has recently, and all the nerfs to crit might limit the Leviathans. All that said, global presence and early crit will still find value regardless, and you really will have that value towards neutral objectives, because Gold Fury and Fire Giant are too large. They won't fit into a spectral armor. So certainly the ability for the Leviathans to get active towards those neutrals early on, as Fafnir and Bologna round out the top two for the Jade Dragons. Not showing too much of their hand, but not much flex potential between those two picks either. The most we could see would be Bologna in the jungle, and I don't really associate that with Sanford Soccer.
No, and we haven't seen Bologna in jungle in what feels like a very, very long time, and maybe not even within some of the regions that these teams have been playing in. Leviathans have two picks of their own. They will go towards the Jingwei, so some semi-global pressure, at least out of their hunter, something safe over for Zapman, and the Baron that was left open was working well for the Dragons, no matter if you threw him into support or if you threw him into solo lane, will be picked up. And now at least the question of which of those two roles will the Leviathans throw this into? Even showing some success as still potential mid laner, but we haven't been seeing a whole lot of that as of recent.
I like the Baron Samdi into Bologna matchup. I feel like once you're through that first item, once you get a little bit of defense online for Baron Samdi, you really don't have the most kill potential as Bologna, and Bologna having to stand so close to the wave means that Baron Samdi should, for the most part, be able to keep himself sustained in the lane. So as of now, leaning towards Soul Lane for this Baron Samdi selection, but certainly has some of that flex potential, and as the Jade Dragons show some more of their draft, could shake up how the Leviathans start to think about this pick.
We did see a strong presence out of Hell just yesterday, and we'll now see Hell rightfully taken away at that same time. So Jade Dragons will make sure to keep that healer out of the mid lane, out of Shinto's hands, a player who's more than capable of being able to pilot that god. Erlong Shen going to be the ban up against the Jade Dragons, focusing out Sam for Soccer yet again. Gilgamesh still up on the table, and be curious to see if the Dragons are able to pick that one up, if the Leviathans will leave it open for them. But Yu Huang will not make his way there, another god that Shinto has seen some promise on, and a god the Jade Dragons don't want to deal with.
So, what will the Leviathans do with this last ban? Do you want to limit those hunters? The hunters still available don't really scream like ban to me, or are you that worried about an AMC? You could be concerned about a Freya, perhaps, but that would be a pretty magical heavy composition from the Jade Dragons. So instead, the Daji taken off the table, which had completely slipped my mind. That makes perfect sense. You don't want to have to deal with the CC core that she brings to your team, and as well how well she facilitates this Thoth out of mid. So the Jade Dragons will have to dig a little bit deeper into their jungle god pool. Man, you've implanted the idea of Gilgamesh into my mind. I'm really thinking hard about that pick, and I think it would work against some of these selections from the Leviathans. Mercury, to a certain extent, not really great into the Gilgamesh, especially in the early portions of the game. You're able to just, if he comes at you, you don't win the 1v1, but you drop kick him away, and you're able to disengage and get involved elsewhere on the map. Instead, it's a Ho Yi lock-in, so Sam for Soccer going to wait a little bit longer on his own pick.
We'll wait to see what the rest of the draft is. To couple alongside the Mercury for the right side of the map, Osiris will be the selection for your core, and then Poseidon over to the mid lane. We've seen the success that Shinto has had on this mid lane maze. We've seen the relative success that Poseidon has had. You know, even though that's only a 44% win rate, some of the games that we have seen that Poseidon has been able to dominate in, thinking back to Benny Q's performance earlier on into the day, looking over at BMT in previous weeks of play, this Poseidon can be a devastating pick. But right now the Jade Dragons hovering Robin, and this is a pick that we used to see all the time when Poseidon was very popular, was You pick Robin, and what does Poseidon do?
Probably whiff Kraken. Overhead kick. Pretty good at avoiding that. Robin also very good at keeping up with Poseidon. That ultimate to engage the fight, the slows, to make sure that he isn't getting the full value of that title meter. So I like this Robin selection, and not just because I'm a big Robin fan, but also he recently got a bunch of buffs towards his own scaling. So you really don't feel the changes on Robin until about 2 items into your build, but afterward, the damage output really starts to ramp up a fair deal. So I like how this is going to look for the Jade Dragons. You've got a standard spearhead composition, Bellona, Fafnir, and Robin going to hold down your front line. Ho Yi, to a certain extent, space control with that ultimate, can auto-attack and help peel out for Thoth, who is going to be his bubble buddy for the majority of these team fights. Thoth, on the other hand, just has a lot of great targets that he can start looking towards in these engagements. Mercury, if you're able to poke him out, already an incredibly squishy pick. Take 1 or 2 hieroglyphic assaults, and all of a sudden, your ultimate isn't as valuable because you go in and you just die. So I really do like how Thoth is going to round out this draft. The Leviathans, on the other hand, if they are able to establish early pressure, should be able to get in towards those objectives. We talked about it with their top 3, and it continually got stronger as the rest of their draft built out. They've got really good pressure potential towards gold and pyro.
Well, now that we get a look at the lanes, we see that the Osiris got locked in. So Bellona versus Osiris, a matchup as old as time as far as Smite is concerned. And you throw Baron up against the Fafnir on the opposite side. Some decent tools, maybe some kind of decent back and forth initiation amongst those teams. If you're Leviathans, between having the Baron and between having the Osiris, which of those kind of becomes your primary initiator for the team?
Well, Osiris is never really an initiator. He can go in, he can create space. Like, he'll start the fight, but it's not like, I'm starting the fight, they're locked down. It's, I'm starting the fight, they're tethered, and they are running away from me. They're scattering to the wind. So Osiris mainly there to act as just space control for the rest of the team, whereas Baron Samdi is going to be the guy who's like, all right, I found the root, let's put some damage into him. I pulled somebody in, let's put some damage to him. He's the more standard of the 2 initiators. But I think the Atlantis Leviathans with this kind of composition aren't really looking for the true 5-on-5 engagement. They want to have Mercury find a pick early on, catch somebody rotating into the team fight, have Poseidon drop a Kraken before the fight starts off, just weaken the Jade Dragons, who haven't really got the best sustain.
As far as it's concerned, I mean, we look back to game number 1, the Leviathans were able to find success getting those picks across the map. The near deicide that happened partway through the game of finding one on right and just slowly transitioning their way across the map to find those picks and kind of slow bleed and chokehold out the Jade Dragons. May be the call for the Leviathans. The Jade Dragons have a ton of tools to start burning away and even securing these objectives. So it's going to have to come down to a lot of this range damage. It's Kraken versus Final Judgment as far as those are concerned. Can the Atlantis Leviathans close this one out? Will it be the Jade Dragons? We'll throw it over. It's a game number 3.
Only one thing is confirmed here, is that there's no more games. This is it. Jade Dragons and Leviathans, game 3. It all comes to an end right here, right now. After a back-and-forth set, both teams have had, maybe dominating is an overstatement, Trilly, but both teams have had very convincing wins so far in this set. Leviathans run away with it in game 1. Jade Dragons, more comfortable composition, bounce back in game 2. And now all bets are off headed into game 3. I think both teams have more of a standard squad built out on both sides. Really feels like a lot of this comes down to play on field.
Yeah, I definitely prefer to see Pantom on the Mercury rather than the Arachne.
You didn't like the Arachne?
Just didn't bring enough to the table for me to warrant picking it just like ever.
No, it was like me coming to Thanksgiving where like my parents and brother and sister-in-law and sister, like they all bring like actual food to the table, and I show up having cooked nothing. I literally brought nothing to the table. And that's how I felt like the Arachne was in game 2.
Yeah, and I think Mercury's going to be the opposite here. There's a reason it's so highly contested. It can bring so much damage. The global presence that Mercury has just blinks in immediately. Sanford Soccer wants to make sure that there's no level 2s being hit here, so that there could be a jungle invade after the fact. I just think that Mercury's going to be such a better look for Panatom, and the crit damage, having an extra ADC on the team, just helps you out so much.
To be clear, that was more of an indictment by me of the Arachne pick in general, where Panatom, such a talented player, will have a much easier time, I think, getting involved on the style pick. Like
I don't think anyone's going to disagree with you about that.
No,
the
right.
Arachne didn't bring much.
Right, I wanted to make sure that it didn't come off as like, Panatom brings nothing to the table, right? It's more of a, the Arachne.
Is Panatom a hindrance?
Arachne showed up, ate the desserts, ate the turkey, and then headed out. Didn't really, brought the silverware, like plastic cups and cutlery on the way. But look at this, Panatom bringing an early gank to the table. This game, Final K needed that disarm And max value from the Bologna, able to get out. You normally wait until level 5 on a Mercury to get active, but Panatom having none of it. Puts Fine OK on the back foot a bit early.
I thought his name was Alec Fonzo.
What did I say?
You called him max value.
I'm
sorry. I just know the pace of these games. That was the one game we're going to see from Panatom for a little bit.
I felt a piercing pain on my right side. Oh, God. That hurt.
I just know we're not going to see a gank from Panatom for some time. That was the one opportunity he had. Final K is going to be watching out for that now. But Sanford Soccer could try to find a gank on that side of the map. He is sort of posturing over. He's only level 2, but does have a root and a slow. More so interested in this blue buff, though. He's just going to sit there and wait. I thought maybe, just maybe, Yarkor would step up too far.
That was better than my Arachne 8 eyes joke from game 2 by far. So at least give you credit. It wasn't the worst bit that we've had throughout
the worst bit in this set.
Right, but again, we're not. There's not much there because
that's not my bar. I don't want to be the not the worst jokes said in a set.
Yeah,
so.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not proud of that one either. But
it's okay. Well, look, that's how you improve. You know, it fell a bit short, but it was better again than whatever I had in game number 2 there. But you're right, though. I think Panatom slows things down for a bit here, waits till level 5, and that's when the Jade Dragons really have to be aware of that Sonic Boom. Got to make sure your ward coverage is proper because level 5, hanging out behind the tier 1 tower in duo, over in mid, things like that. Send ultimates right down the middle. Can set up for some proper ganks. Now, Sanford Soccer is going to have to throw something a bit unique out here because the Robin, not a frequent pick here at the SPL level, but great at kind of bridging that early game to mid game and getting the Jade Dragons to mid in a comfortable state.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we did see the Robin was through Pagon, countering out Benny Q's Poseidon, and it worked out very well. And I think that's the same name of the game here for Sanford Soccer. Try get to Shinto, blink in. Anytime that Kraken comes through, you have 2 different immunities. You can decide to use overhead kick or the ultimate. So you're never going to have to worry about that Kraken, and it's such easy ganks, especially with a Thoth in the back to provide the damage you need. So I expect to see Sanford Soccer try to get active in mid, or at least try to get active and sort of force relics onto Shinto so he's not able to just free farm on this Poseidon, because he should be getting outraged anyways by Panatom, but maybe Panatom's looking to get a gank onto a Pagon.
Here you go. Level 5, Sonic Boom charged, but Pagon a bit out of the center of the lane. And that it just requires, you can't slip up if you're playing against a Mercury. Like something as small as that, just hugging the wall in the lane, being outside of Sonic Boom line of sight is something you've got to do every time you're in lane. Following up on your jungler, something else you got to be able to do. Panatom dashes away. Polar Bear Mike was here as well. The Jade Dragon send pressure towards the Leviathans. Doesn't result in much, though, as Panda Cat also has to go up and away, able to avoid the pull-in from Rongyu. We are fighting everywhere. Stun from Yarkor delays out Fine OK, who did have the Eagles rally. Wondered if we would kind of see that counter out the tether. But Fine OK not wanting to use his ultimate while also not knowing where Panatom is. So getting a bit scrappy early in the first 5 minutes here, Trelly. No kills drop, though, just yet.
Yeah, and that solo lane matchup, it's one of, we've seen Osiris versus Bologna for years now, I think, just been dominating the solo lane for quite some time. Whenever this Death's Toll style build is in the meta, you'll see these 2 picks. And the way it usually goes is whoever ults first is going to lose that transaction. The Lord of the Afterlife, very telegraphed, and Eagles Rally, very telegraphed. If you want the stun or the root, respectively, you got to try and hold it as much as possible. You have to just eat the full brunt of the damage that the other laner is going to bring. So Yarkor wanted to hold on to that one as long as possible, and Final K probably recognized that one as well. And we'll just dash away. The Glad Shield is actually going to be the start here for Yarkor, as Panatom just sits there and waits for a possible gank onto Pagon. He's got to walk up the lane eventually, but maybe just goes the safe way instead of going through the small little corridor. Actually didn't, but he had PBM with him, so didn't care too much.
Had a little safety with Mike hovering close by. Shinto opts for just rush right into the Charon's coin. Finish that item completely up before going back and getting Bumbas. Now, we've heard this theorized, and not only theorized, but actually put into play in-game. The Poseidon, I'm trying to remember exactly what the build is. It might start with Charon's coin, eventually gets Bumba's hammer. I think Staff of Mirrodin is slotted in there later on into the build at some point, and you just farm cooldowns in team fights. I wonder if that's something that Shinto is looking for as this build ends up going on. But what we do have solidified now, Charon's coin early, And so hopefully for the Leviathans, if there's some fighting going on, Shinto can get some of those stacks rolling, get the Krakens hitting their target and finding some value. Fine, okay, needs some safety yet again here. Has Eagles rally. Doesn't need it though. Panatom chooses to hold on to the Sonic Boom.
Yeah, Sanford Soccer could be close, and you don't really want to commit too much to a Bologna when there's a Robin in the mix. And it looks like Final K gets baited and does the up down, but he's gone.
That'll be a kill, and that'll be first blood over to Panatom. That is simple. Kind of a pump fake on the way out, but what a ricochet from Pandacat. The ricochet more impressive than really the follow-up warranted. But Panatom really on the right side makes the difference in the early game. I think lulling Fine OK into a sense of security, seeing the Mercury walk away, and ends up turning back around for first blood. Yeah. Exactly what you want on Mercury. Get the gold rolling on early.
Yeah, he just stayed a little bit too long there. And Pandacat has been zoning out Zapman, not letting him step up to this wave until the purple buff spawns in, and then we'll be able to go for it. But Shinto's here and is going to crack in that buff and make sure to confirm him for his laner.
Yeah, you better confirm the purple buff if you're going to drop Kraken on it and get some damage onto Pandacat, and does indeed confirm the purple buff for Zapman. Just helping out, but that means doesn't have Kraken for moments like this. Mike simply walking forward, and Mike drops the red buff. So Shinto uses the Kraken for Zapman, doesn't have it for his own buff, and Mike gets away with one there. Red buff will go searching for a waste, and it won't be there because Mike unable to pick it up for himself. So a small win back to the Jade Dragons, as Panatom going right into what looks like to be a Wind Demon. Sanford Soccer, though, going right into the mid lane. Lots of damage into Shinto, but no Mystic Rush, no dive back in.
I saw the look in Sam's eyes. He wanted to ult that, and immediately thought, wait, towers are strong now, and he decided against it. The ult was definitely on his mind, and it looks like PPM is getting CC down here. We'll get pulled back in. There's a bit of damage here.
Whoa, Final Judgment flies out from Pagon. Mike de-transforming, and that'll put him right in harm's way. Zapman, a well-timed rotation through, picks up Zapman's first kill of the game, but the Leviathan's second kill of the game, and one nice stack for Shinto's Charon's coin. Point I was trying to make before that fight really breaks out, and might not have a chance again, depending on what happens here, is that Panatom going right into what looks like a Wind Demon, crit on the mind of this Mercury. Again, we saw early Spectral Armors prioritized last game. Wonder if we see the Dragons look for something like that here. Because, you know, the one-punch style of Mercury build really hurts.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be super annoying to deal with. There's so much movement speed on the side of Leviathans already. Shinto started that Charon's coin, as you mentioned, and now going into the Doom Orb. Toxic Blade probably on the mind as well. Even if there's not an overwhelming amount of healing, it just gives you attack speed and movement speed. That's what these Poseidons love, is just trying to be as fast and annoying as possible. And once you get that Bumbus Hammer, you can just spam that Trident ability. So it should be an interesting build that we'll see Shinto go down as the game goes on. But 2-0 right now are the Levi's, and they're not up in gold. The Jade Dragons have been controlling the map, and Mike steals the purple buff away again. He doesn't even have a look on his face. I'd at least be grinning if I had done that twice in a row, but that's just another day in the office.
Yeah, right. Mike just expects it, right? If he's not stealing the purple buff, something's gone wrong. And so the last couple of buffs for the Leviathans on the left side of the map get taken away by Polar Bear Mike. At least Shinto will get the red buff over in mid. Mike takes a bit of damage, and a bit is it. Just Zapman with only the Icavale and into something else in that XE, Aussie, kin-size tree. Whoa. That is simple from Panatom, though. Over to the red buff, spins around Pagon. But now being run at by Sanford Soccer. This is a 2-level lead for Panatom, choosing not to fight it. Will ult away instead. Panatom, that is simple. The most underwhelming kill there is. Walks forward, autos Pagon a couple of times, but now there's a fight from the Jade Dragons around the corner. Won't get much on Narangu. Ultimate dropped by Pandacat. And the Leviathans are going to disengage just fine.
Yeah, there's no stuns there available for Mike. Just too speedy after that heal went through, so there's just going to be no sort of chase in. Narangu steps too far back up, and now there will be some chase through.
Narangu sustains, but sustain is not enough. Zapman, big triple airstrike. As Panatom is rotated back into the fight. No Sonic Boom, and no chance. Decent little ricochet, though, out of Pandacat. Those have been hitting this game. Panatom sticks around. Has to be careful here. His dash is now down, gets rooted in place, uses the beads. And that's all the Jade Dragons will look for. So at least one pulled back by the Dragons, but other than that, the Leviathans have been really controlling the individual kills here in Game 3.
Absolutely, and if if you were wondering where the Kraken was that fight, it was farming the right side of the map, pushing 2 waves under Pagon's tower, and hitting level 12. Shinto just running to farm, has the Bumbas, as you mentioned already, and has just been saying, hey, I'll be the jungler if you want to go try and fight on the left side of the map. I'm not going. I want to be as far ahead as possible. I want to just speed run to level 20 so I can help out my team even more later on. So all the camps on the right side of the map were done by Shinto during that fight. He didn't care to rotate in, and it ended up only netting 1 kill onto your support, so not going to be the worst option in the world. You got a 2-0 Mercury, who's already level 12 as well. It's a 2-level lead in that jungle. You're probably not too upset about that one.
Yeah, jungle and mid feeling comfortable for the Leviathans that they can fight around this middle part of the map. Or just to the right of the middle part of the map, around the Pyromancer. Should be a good look. Big crits rolling through for Panatom, and that means an easy Pyromancer to the Leviathans. Now, what's worrying, Trelly, is not the gold lead or the experience lead just yet, though 3,000 experience is pretty hefty. What's worrying is that if you rewind to game 1, this is much like the style of game that the Leviathans played where they were able to find the win, where not like overwhelming amount of kills, but the Jade Dragons like just behind enough that they don't want to step up to the Pyro, don't want to step up to the Gold Fury. Nice dodge by Zapman. Going to be a pull back in from Rongyu. Ultimate down for Pandacat. He eats the stun. Zapman gets melted through by that ultimate. Rongyu hoping to sprint away. A transformation out from Mike. Gives the Dragons a bit more wind in this fight. Zapman barely makes it back to base. Can't say the same for Rongyu though. Kraken up, Kraken down. Mike out. No one dead in this fight. Despite some red health bars, Sanford Soccer blinks back in, sends some damage towards the Levi's. And a ricochet won't change anything. Back in, back out go both Panatom and Zapman. And Pagon now the one who has to use beats.
Yeah, I'm looking to see where the solo laners are, and it doesn't look like they're going to be too impactful in this fight. So very low is Sanford Soccer, and Panacat has to jump out. This is a chase or be chase situation, and it looks like the Jade Dragons should be able to run away here.
Oh no, Panacat, no beads for 10 seconds, and that'll be finally a kill to the Leviathans. A second as the Jade Dragons can't disengage. The Leviathans, I thought, were going to head out themselves. But they hang out for a little bit longer and finally able to capitalize on a couple kills.
Yeah, Pagon has a lot of CDR built, so if this Gold Fury is looked at, we'll have a fair bit of damage to try and stop. Doesn't look like they want the Gold Fury here. More interested in the purple buff invade, as Zap is just sit here waiting for his team to join him so he can finally try and take this one away. But with Mike here, it's not going to be free.
No, purple buff taken low. And taken down by the Leviathans. I thought Mike was going to have some more magic to work, but unable to confirm his own purple buff. It now really does feel like a not a mirror image, the same image from what we saw in game 1, where the Leviathans found some early objectives. They get one fight where they kind of pull one by one the Jade Dragons down. You enter the 15-minute mark with a decent little gold lead. So the Jade Dragons have an opportunity then to make some changes. If you don't want a repeat of game 1, maybe start to fight back around some of the more important objectives. Maybe look for some individual picks, because just the one return kill from Sam is all the Dragons have, and a 3-level deficit in the jungle.
Yeah, usually when in a matchup like this, you think maybe when the solo laners rotate in, Final K will be able to make a big difference, but the way he's itemized, he's got the Glad Shield and the mid-Guardian Mail, not really building to outbox the ADCs on the opposite side, just try to survive and be tanky, which is certainly a strategy as well. Bologna can be very annoying in her own right, just applying CC and disarm, slows, things like that. Mike is trying to defend this Gold Fury, so it seems like the Leviathans are trying to go for something here. They really have the Kraken, and they're trying to force this Fafnir out so they can try and pull or just bait anyone in. Pagon's backing, but I don't think the Levi's are ready to go for the Gold Fury just yet. Now, with Zapman rotating in, it will be pulled.
Yep, you got Kraken. Got initiation from Rongyu as well. Mike get rooted in place. So life of the party down. Not sure how concerned the Leviathans are about that. Concerned enough that the Dragon showing some face means back off. Zapman will get slowed down by Final K, who used teleport to get over to the left side of the map, though Yarkor did as well, and so the minions on right get to hang out alone for just a bit of time. Both teams wary on how quickly they disengage. Don't want to give the other time to quickly pull out that Gold Fury. It's again sort of an awkward hovering towards mid here. Final K and Yarkor likely slowly walking themselves back towards solo lane. Mid tier 1 pretty low. I don't think the Leviathan's feeling comfortable enough, though, to start to push that down and maybe take a team fight under the tower.
Yeah, even with great confirm onto this objective, because Pagon has to charge up Final Judgment and try and match the DPS of a Kraken, and Panatom's going to have that Sonic Boom charged already just in case Thoth ever peeks his head in to try and confirm that one. So I think if this was a 50-50 toss-up, Leviathans definitely were able to confirm that one over the Jade Dragons, given everything goes according to plan. But still, not willing to risk it. The life of the party got used trying to get Mike. He was able to avoid that and didn't get any ultimates for themselves, so no reason to pull it right now. You're still pulling ahead.
Right? Yep.
You're still pulling ahead gold-wise, so what's the reason to risk it? But Mike is pretty far up here, but Final K's got his back.
Final K close. Never fully rotated back to solo. Life of the party goes up, so does Eagles Rally. Zatman able to just dash away from this fight. Panatom's got Sonic Boom. Not a lot of damage into the Dragons just yet, though. I think that'll be that, as the Leviathans send just a bit into the back of the Jade Dragon. So Rongyu has been just fine throwing up this life of the party. Hasn't resulted in many kills as of late. The Jade Dragons having to be wary of where that ultimate is going to connect. Bulwark of Hope now completed for Yarkor. If you look at the Soul Laners, their build, Shogun's Kusari, most recent for Fino-K. So extra bit of tankiness for Yarkor, where some attack speed, speed up team utility on the mind of Fino.
Yeah, and Panatom has a full Deathbringer at this point. Shinto is 2 levels up in the mid lane. This is what I'm talking about. The Leviathans have no reason to stress and try to pull an objective quickly, because if things continue as they are, the level 20 power spike for not only this Mercury but this Poseidon as well is going to be massive. Bumbus Hammer for Poseidon essentially means you're getting 2 Krakens off a fight. Pyromancer is going to go the way of the Levi's with no contention from the Jade Dragons. It's been a lot of let's sort of peek our heads into these objectives and see if we can defend. The Gold Fury obviously still stands tall, but no one really trying to stop the Levi's from pulling these. No one's trying to throw some damage their way. They just don't want to step up. And now,
yeah, casters curse the Gold Fury. The poor thing was standing tall, and now is just going to get shredded. That is a fast Gold Fury. But again, this is what I was worried about from the Jade Dragons, is there's a slight lead from the Leviathans, and all of the objectives just go over. A little bit of gold here, a little bit of gold there. The Jade Dragons are avoiding dying, yes, but you're not avoiding the gold lead, just passively building up for the Leviathans. You get one, you don't split the other. And so the question I asked in game 1, and I'll ask again here, Trelly, is this the style of composition from the Dragons? If this type of pace continues, you get to level 20, you're going to be a bit behind. Are you favoring them in the late game? Is that what the Dragons are hoping they're able to get to?
Looking across the board, the answer is no. I mean, the Yarkor is going to be doing about the same as Final K. Just Osiris v. Bologna, both of them are going to be annoying. Panatom, it's only going to get better as the late game goes on. Sam will get more damage online, but can't match the crit presence of Panatom.
Right.
So Panatom's only going to get better. Sam wants to hit 20, but it's certainly not going to match that damage. Bumbus Hammer Poseidon is going to have a good time. I don't think that Thoth is going to get much worse, but still, you're worried about a Kraken that's going to be coming through twice in a fight. That's just so much. Panatom wants to try an old Panda Cat here.
Yeah, would love it.
And I don't think an opportunity is going to present itself.
Although I don't think the Dragons know that Panatom's here in general. Shinto definitely spotted out on a ward way in the back of this fight, and Panatom, of course, now is spotted out. But these are the moments where the Leviathans have been fine just to take a deep breath, especially in game 1 with a similar style of lead. Haven't forced objectives unnecessarily. Relatively low kill game in game 1. Definitely a low kill game here in game number 3 as we get 6 in just now, crossing the 20-minute mark. Although Fino-K wrapping around behind the duo lane now. Tier 1 in mid's going to fall, but an airstrike out from Zatman maintains his safety. Teleport through from Yarkor, and the Jade Dragons will abandon the fight.
Yeah, and still 2 in mid, by the way, trying to pressure into Sam for soccer, maybe looking at a tier 2 tower here. Just so much damage coming out from the side of Leviathans. That's what I'm talking about. Their comms right now have to be, we don't have to fight this, we win late game. That's what they're saying, and they're probably pretty confident about it. They are fighting this, however. Even if they win late game, they can still fight a fight if it comes their way.
I will take one set of beats, please, says Rongyu, but the Jade Dragons would love an answer back, and that's what they've got. Damage from Pagon and Panda Cat send Rongyu to the grave, but a blink forward from Sanford Soccer, avoided out by Zatman. This is the fight the Dragons have been hoping for, but Panatom joins the engagement from right. Sonic Boom still waiting, both of his actives gone. Active still for Shinto, yes, and a Kraken on the back end of this fight. Eagles rally in, Kraken down, but still no deaths for the Jade Dragons. Gold deficit be damned, the Jade Dragons have found kills onto the dual lane of the Leviathans.
Yeah, Panatom trying to line up an ult. Could have gotten 2 kills there if found the right one, and it's not going to be the case. Both the low members of the Jade Dragons get back, and now they're able to back up as well. The gold lead's still vastly in the Leviathans' favor, but that's a good, solid climb back in that the Jade Dragons really needed here. I think the XP still is what's the biggest issue at the moment, because Shinto ticks over to level 20 during that fight, whereas Pagon's only level 17.
Yeah.
Sanford Soccer still level 16 in this game right now. 3 items to his name. Would love a Heartseeker, would love a survivability item, something that could just help him get to the back line much easier and not worry about the fact that Panatom could always just out-trade him if they do meet each other in the jungle like we just saw in that mid lane. And for me, the biggest issue right now is the fact that Yarkor is so tanky and Panacat doesn't quite have the itemization to match that just yet. Once that Silver Branch gets finished, a lot more DPS on your side, but until then, you got to give the damage to the Leviathans.
Yeah, of course.
They got a level 20, they got a Soul Reaver, it's going to look pretty good.
Wonder what Yarkor itemizes into at the end of his build here. Likely just a bit of crit from Panacat. Could be Spectral. Mike did pick up an early Spectral armor, 3rd item Spectral. And that's going to get big value because both Panatom and Zapman have Wind Demon Deathbringer in their builds. Mike, I would argue, needed the Spectral and had to go Spectral with that item. Zapman will avoid the stun, dashes away. Pyromancer is going to be up shortly, but not exactly at this moment. So if the Leviathans play quick enough, Trelly, they could do the exact same thing they did last time, which is an immediate fast pull on the Pyro, and then send it over to the Fury, grab that objective as well, and it looks like that's exactly what the Leviathans have in mind. Pull out the Pyromancer, slight rotation through from the Jade Dragons, maybe steal attempt from Mike, but no good. Another neutral objective to the Levi's.
Yeah, they got about 14 seconds before that Fury is up, and the Levi's want to back up and spend that gold. Panatom probably able to upgrade that starter, or at least grab a ward for the Fury, and it looks like that is what he is going to do. Just make sure he's got some vision online. You don't want a Fire Giant snuck while you're looking for the Primal Fury.
It's the same thing. I mean, it's back, reset, buy, over to the Fury. Jade Dragons have to know that this is about to happen, but yes, they're going to be fighting at a 6,000 to 7,000 gold deficit if you try to step up to the Fury, but it's going to get worse if you don't. It's a choice that I do not envy from the Jade Dragons. Panatom charges a Sonic Boom towards Panacat, but with both actives up and relative safety in the Ho-Yi kit, Panacat will be just fine. Some ward coverage down on this side of the map, so again, the Jade Dragons won't necessarily be caught by surprise by this, but this is going to absolutely melt. Kraken will not secure the objective, and the Jade Dragons get about all they can hope for, and it's a 50-50 coin flip.
It was Mike, man.
And it's Mike who ends up stealing it away. And that's, look, if Panacat's ultimate steals it, that's one thing. A tick of damage rolls through fine. You can't be having a Fafnir toss the hammer in there, steal it away. But you got to body block that, but a glimmer of hope now for the Dragons, exactly what they needed when the Fury gets pulled by the Levi's.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the Suns come down, I saw Ricochet head in, and I was like, okay, maybe
one of those.
Maybe Panacat got it, unfortunate, but Mike has just been on point. We've seen him steal away how many buffs just where he definitely shouldn't have been able to. And that time around, I mean, Shinto could have just saved his one, and that's just instant confirmation because nothing out there is going to be out damaging that. Doesn't really matter though, because Fire Giant is still available, and that's what the Levi's want to focus on now. You don't want to, you know, drone on about losing an objective when
I sure do.
Well, I know we can, but I don't think the Levi's want to hang out on that one too long, because if the Mumba's hammer's up, you got a lot of damage your way, and it looks like stepping up very far is the Jade Dragons, but we'll be able to avoid the coffin.
Fighting with a big lead now are the Leviathans. Frenzy gets used. Sonic Boom right through the middle, but Panatom has got to disengage. Maybe the rest of the Levi's do as well. Transformation out of Polar. This is exactly what we saw in Game 1, where the Jade Dragons were winning damage trades around the FG despite a massive gold lead. Zapman in behind the Jade Dragons here. Tethers out from Yarkor, so is the Kraken. And the Osiris is just doing so much. How has Yarkor stayed alive in this fight? Can say the same for Fine, okay, but for how much longer? Not much longer. Sanford Soccer has found the backline, a 1-for-1 trade. A bit more damage into any of the Jade Dragons is a sweeping team fight win for the Leviathans, but instead, A Zapman for Mike trade is what the Leviathans have to settle for.
Yeah, it's just so hard to push into Pagon right now. They had the health bars and the damage to try and kill the Jade Dragons there, but can you walk into a Thoth? Not going to be the case. They tried for a bit and they realized, wait, Hieroglyphic Assault is half-healthing all of us. Maybe we shouldn't just blindly run into the jungle and see what we can find. Panda Cat is trying to find Shinto here, hiding inside the mist, but there's a ward there, and not going to be the case. He will just back off and decide that he doesn't want to go for that one. Would have been a nice little double bounce and maybe some cheeky damage, but there's wards everywhere. The Leviathans have had so much presence in this game, even when they, regrettably lose a trade, because Zap for Mike is not a trade you want to make. You would like to have your ADC rather than your support at this stage in the game. So even when they lose a fight like that, they still have the map presence to say, you're not taking this objective and you're not going to catch us napping. Right now, Shinto's 1-0, and he doesn't want to die at all.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, a lot of it on Panatom and where his engages can go. The Sonic Boom, found a couple members of the Dragons, but then you got to remember you're a relatively squishy player in the midst of a team that, despite being behind, does good amounts of damage to you. So whether it's early positioning, using the Sonic Boom to come in from behind, I'm curious to see how Panatom wants to play these next couple of moments, because the Jade Dragons, I think, may be feeling a bit empowered after the way that fight went, and how I think carry for support is something they'll take. Don't want to lose Fine OK though. Tanky enough on the Bologna to only take half of the HP and damage. Has teleport as well. If reset is necessary, Fine OK can go back, heal up, join this fight somewhat quickly. Looks like that's exactly what the Jade Dragons will need, just to delay out for their solo laner to get back. In map state, really fine for both of these teams. There's only a tier 1 down in mid against the Dragons, tier 1 on right down against the Leviathans, so no fire waves pushing to really threaten the base. It's just who can find the initiation better.
Yeah, I don't think the Jade Dragons want to get baited in by trying to burst Yarkor. He can't be the first one that goes down in these fights. No matter how out of position he seems, he can stall for so long. We saw that Osiris just juke around for such a long time and bait out so many abilities and things like that. So whenever this Osiris is here, might be tempted to try and hit him, but I think the Jade Dragons will waste the vast majority of their DPS and CC on that Osiris if that is the plan. But with how disruptive he is, you can't ignore him either. Look, he's just standing there and throwing out so much damage.
Pyromancer would be nice just to get back to these fights quicker. Yarkor has found the back. Tethers on a few. Stuns also on a few. There's the follow-up from Panatom. Pagon surviving in the backline all this time, and Yarkor's been left alone. Now Panatom has to disengage, but look at the damage onto the Mercury. Kraken Crate, knock up onto Fine OK, and again low health bars, but this time Yarkor will be able to capitalize. Shinto is the one who has the last bit of damage. The Jade Dragons withstand so much, but they can only stand so much, and one ends up going down, but the Leviathans maybe not healthy enough for an immediate FG pull.
Yeah, but Mike jumps in here, tries to find the stun. Wrongfew's also going down, but Shinto has so much damage.
Oh, he sure does. Third kill of the game for Shinto, who's now on a killing spree. So 38 seconds on both Sam and Mike. But not an immediate Fire Giant pull just yet from the Leviathans. Some low health bars may be slowing them down, but slowing down does not mean stop. Fire Giant now pulled, and the Jade Dragons, outside of maybe something from Fine OK, won't be able to contest. And the Levi's get FG at 30 minutes on all 5.
Yeah, Final K is going to run out of there. He does not want to try and battle with that one. With the Bumbus Hammer, Shinto will have a Kraken already back up and ready, just in case anyone tries to step up to that objective. So great play by the Leviathans. Honestly, it was more so an overextension from Mike. He wanted to go for a stun there, thought he had enough DPS, and it just was not the case. The team did not provide the kill they needed, and then once you're dead, the Fire Giant just looks so much cleaner to get. Now the Leviathans have the option of, trying to dissect the map and decide where they want to go. Zapman is going to take that tier 2 and right.
Yep.
And maybe just group up, because Shinto's a red buff. You see Wrongfu is also just coming out of base for Panatom back. So I think a little bit overextending. You don't want to stay too long. Just get as much gold as you can, because there still are some power spikes to be had. Shinto finally finishes that Staff of Mirrodin you were talking about, with just the Charon's coin.
God, I'm so good.
Yeah, how? you just knew it.
I just take in so much information, and man, I'm able to just stay on top of it.
You're just a sponge for Smite knowledge.
I suppose. Probably not. No, you have forgotten more about Smite than I've ever learned, and I think that's just a fact. The Leviathans, though, the fact of the matter is, playing with house money at this point. I don't know. I think if the Dragons do end up losing this game, they've got a lot of similar things to review between Game 3 and Game number 1 as far as the way that both of those two games went, where they're relatively low kill, but just got maybe slightly unconfident in contesting a lot of objectives, and that has allowed this massive gold lead to build up to the point where they can't, whether they want to or not, contest these objectives. It is a 13,000 gold lead at 30 minutes. So the XP starting to matter a bit less outside of 3 levels, soon to be 4 levels in support. Everyone else is level 20. Build's starting to catch up, but the Leviathans still so far ahead in gold, where the build's just more attractive if you're on the Leviathan side of things right now. And you got a lot of time with these Fire Giant buffs. You got a Trebuchet as well. This is a great scenario for the Leviathans to maybe look at a Phoenix Siege.
Yeah, I still have my eyes on Pig on that. He's got to be the one to try and stop this, or at least deter it a little bit. If you're able to output a ton of damage, you know, just poke out the Leviathans before they're able to push, there's a chance that you can try and defend this one.
Yep.
And you do have the ultimate as well. Final Judgment could just delete someone before the fight begins.
Yeah, good call there. Pagon takes away about half of Zapman's health bar just in poke damage. Zapman a little sustained in the Aussie, but doesn't have much to sustain off of. All the jungle behind him is gone as well. We'll have to just play extra safe on the back of this fight. Shinto hovering around mid. Trebuchet quickly dealt with, so what I thought would be kind of fun to watch didn't end up doing all that much at the end of the day. And Shinto will help usher some minions in towards mid. So I guess you're really, Trelly, looking for maybe Rongi to force some beads, get a pull in with the life of the party. Yarkor, Lord of the Afterlife, could keep things interesting. A Sonic Boom just got used in mid by Panatom, and now Yarkor does indeed look for the backline. Scorching Blink gets used. Left side Phoenix low. Eagles rally back in from Fine OK. Pushes back the Leviathans just a bit, but just a bit is it. And there could be some pressure pushing back forward by the Leviathans just to finish off this left side Phoenix. Couple more autos is all they need.
Yeah, if they do want to try and keep this left side Phoenix up, you have to try and fight, not under it. So stepping up in front of it, body blocking is going to be your best option. Sam for Soccer, though, is going to have his work cut out for him.
Sam.
That Phoenix is gone.
Yeah, Sam cannot win this 2v1 in mid. Has to leave. Phoenix in mid, though, does survive. The juggling of the aggro, very strong. 2 low Phoenixes, but now a lopsided fight over on the left side of the map. As Rongi throws up the life of the party, beads get taken off of Sam for Soccer over in mid, but everyone else on right able to hold on to him. Life of the parties haven't quite been hitting their mark yet this game. And both Phoenixes in very similar states. Fire Giant buff now falls off. Nobody else has got it for the Leviathans. But these Phoenixes so low, they'd love to get one going over the next few minutes.
Yeah, Shinto has the Bumbas Hammers procs, and that is really the only thing. Rongyu's getting aggressed upon. He should fall down here.
Oh no, Rongyu is low and has no way to disengage. The heal does not come through in enough time. The Jade Dragons have bought their time as a Kraken gets thrown up by Shinto. Up and over the wall goes Yarkor, but is he trying to save a lost cause? The Jade Dragons have defended their Phoenixes. They found 3 kills, and the Leviathans leave empty-handed.
They can't let Panatom and Zap do this. Look, they're still going for the birds. They're trying to stall this out so they don't lose the game. Zap is definitely not going to be able to get that one. But if the Jade Dragons marched down mid and tried to end the game, I think Panatom and Zapman would have been able to at least grab a bird there and try and stall that one out. But now the Jade Dragons have the option to group up and say, hey, we're going to push up as far as we can, even though there's a Sonic Boom available. Not too much damage here. Ronkyu's up in 20 seconds. Maybe you can grab a tier 2 tower and a Fury possibly if it's about to spawn in. But Fire Giant actually just landed, and that's exactly where they're heading.
Yep, Jade Dragons pull back to it. And this should be a relatively simple enhanced Fire Giant for the Jade Dragons. There are still long death timers for the Leviathans. And so I guess the Jade Dragons did make some changes from game 1, and it's like, we'll just put up a better Phoenix defense because the game state was the exact same. The Leviathans just could not knock down those Phoenixes. And I was excited to see how the Leviathans initiated, but you're just hoping that life of the party finds you your value. Just wasn't able to do so. What is Panatom looking for?
Yeah, I'm seeing if he's trying to grab a Phoenix here or just trying to push.
This
Maybe he's going to ult in with the minions to grab the Phoenix. That would be interesting.
Risky, because surely Pagon is going to go clear these minions, has beads, has Aegis. And yeah, Panatom now seeing how the Jade Dragons leave their base. Everyone with enhanced Fire Giant. And again, gold lead like 9,000, but we've effectively been equalized here, Trelly, with that enhanced Fire Giant. The Jade Dragons have given themselves a second breath in this fight, and it is just fantastic base defense outside of a really rough gold deficit, the Jade Dragons just play that defense better than the Leviathans could play their offense.
Yeah, it's easy to highlight Pagon there, who just did so much damage, was able to poke out Zap before the siege even started, and just put the brakes on their siege a little bit. But I also got to highlight Sam for Soccer there, because he was doing the more difficult job, the 1 versus 2 in mid.
Yep.
Panatom went for the ult, wasn't able to find him. Shinto dropped so many Bumbus Hammers proc on the Phoenix, and Sam was able to stay alive and defend it perfectly by himself. Final K rotates over, but for so long, it was just that Robin in mid lane defending that Phoenix.
And Panacat pours out damage into Rongyu. And I don't see any beads going down on the Jade Dragon side, which is what I was slightly concerned about on the Phoenix Siege. Like, Panda can just jump out, Pagon can dash away. Of course, if Rongyu gets in a good position, you can keep pulling him back in. But from outside of the base, it's been difficult. Now maybe Rongyu can get some value if you can pull someone into you here on the opposite side of the map. Under a Phoenix line, things look a bit different. But what a way what a difference a few minutes make here in game number 3. A couple minutes ago, Jade Dragons defending for their lives, now potentially pushing in for the end against the Leviathans. The Dragons may end this game 5 digits worth of gold down if they can crack the base of the Leviathans in a comfortable way. Yarkor has taken half of his health and damage, and the Phoenix, the first Phoenix to go down, is in the Leviathan's base. If you had told me that a few minutes ago, I would have called you crazy, Trelly, but it's exactly what happens.
Yeah, I would have told you you haven't been watching the game or you're just wrong, and now the mid Phoenix will be the option. They still have that Draconic Transformation once the Coerce comes from Mike, and there it is. This bird will be looked at as well.
Oh, we're fighting under the mid lane Phoenix of the Atlantis Leviathans, and this one may decide the game. Sam for Soccer evaporated, but he is able to get out of this fight just fine. Yarkor sends a Lord of the Afterlife into the backline as well. And speaking of backline, that's right where Fino K is, but everyone's surviving. Yarkor lives somehow under all the damage. The mid lane Phoenix is indeed gone, but it's Shinto who's found the first kill of this fight.
And now there could be a chase in here. It looks like everyone is trying to run. It's up to Pagon. Just throw as much damage as you can back so that the Leviathans can't chase it, but that's a Bumbus Hammer Poseidon. He is faster than everyone on that team.
Shinto zooming right down mid lane. Watch out, Yarkor is on the left side of this fight as well. Can jump into the back, send some tethers towards the Dragons. Panatom spins one around. What's Sam for Soccer looking for here? A root on one of the members of the Leviathans as Pagon dashes away. He'll live as well. And another couple kills fall for the Jade Dragons, but Shinto steps up when they need him. Finds another. The Leviathans pick up 3. Jade Dragons down to their mid and support.
Yeah, Pagon has the ultimate here. That's the only option they have. Left side minions are coming in. The Leviathans want to try and end here. 3v2, I don't think it's going to be on the cards. Maybe you can try to go for this bird, but once a full HP Thoth comes back, there's no way you can go for this one. Mike is just trying to be annoying here as those
We go to the next Fire Giant. Oh, their base?
Yeah,
that's a little damage.
Someone's got a back, and it looks like Shinto's far enough away that is going to happen. So I think we might be going to the next Fire Giant. Dave.
Wow, that's actually, I mean, what, a fifth of its health and damage maybe. So not absurd, but I don't know. I mean, your Titan losing like half of its HP and damage feels pretty brutal. And that at the moment doesn't necessarily change the dynamic, but with how tanky and how much damage these Titans now do, if somehow this game brings us into the Titan room before those Phoenixes respawn and the Titan heals up just a bit, it actually makes a decent difference here in this game. Half of the work already being done. But how did we get here? The Jade Dragons just more effective on their siege. The Leviathans, despite a massive gold advantage, just couldn't get in there. And what a chaotic couple of minutes. We fought Trelly all the way from the mid lane Phoenix of the Leviathans down to like the tier 1 tower line in mid lane for the Jade Dragons. Just a massive chase. And it looks like all signs pointing to an enhanced Fire Giant with the Jade Dragons, the ones with the better map state.
Yeah, and again, I know I've been hyping up Pagon a lot, but he's doing 40,000 damage. He was the reason that game did not end there.
Yeah.
He was dead. He was the first one that should have been dead in that fight.
He lives,
He uses both relics, pushes up instead of retreats, and then is able to juke out Zap's autos, take him out instead, and then just keep the damage going. I think the Leviathan should have been able to run over if all that Thoth DPS was not coming through. And this is exactly what you usually see when 2 Phoenixes are down. The enemy team, or the team with 2 Phoenixes down rather, are trying to pull this FG because they don't have that much time.
Oh my god, it's going down so quickly. Kraken could confirm it. Final Judgment could as well. Kraken does indeed seal the deal. Fire Giant to the Atlantis Leviathan. Shinto is low though on the back line, so is Zapman. The carry's gotta get out. Yarkor has gotta get out. Fire Giant doesn't matter if your entire team is dead, and that's what the Jade Dragons are looking for. 2 already gone. Wrong You falls as well. Panatom and Shinto, the last 2 on the map, but Final K has got the chase down. The Jade Dragons, unbelievable. You are 13,000 gold behind. You're not allowed to come back in a game like that, but that's exactly what the Jade Dragons have done. It is a miracle situation now for the Leviathans. Massive sonic boom, yes, but Panatom does not have the legs. The Jade Dragons do. Unbelievable comeback, and the Dragons take it in 3.
The Leviathans know they have 2 Phoenixes down. They tried to pull that Fire Giant as quickly as possible, and even though they got it, you're not winning the fight after the fact. Just way too much damage. So well played by the Jade Dragons. It's one thing to be able to execute a Phoenix Siege when you're ahead and when you have the Fire Giant on your side, but to defend against that when you're that far behind, it's just so well played by all of the Jade Dragons. But I gotta highlight Sam once again for keeping that mid Phoenix alive by himself 1v2 for so long, and Pagon for just making sure that that damage was not there.
Do you feel like that's an initiation issue by the end of that game for the Leviathans? Really felt like you're hoping that the life of the party could bring in someone, that the sonic boom could follow up with someone. Just couldn't find the proper team fights.
Yeah, I would say so. The sonic boom not finding someone, I think, was the biggest issue. The life of the party was they were able to stall long enough so the second one came through, but those Mercurials had to be connecting there, and I don't think it's too much fault of Panatom. I think it was Sam for Soccer was able to shoot that one out.
What a game between these 2 teams. It's what you hope for when the Dragons and the Leviathans match up against one another. A 3-game set, comebacks. This set had it all, and unfortunately, it has to come to an end. The Jade Dragons win it 2-1. That's it for Trelly and I. Back to the desk to break it down.
Thank you so much, Dave and Trellian. What a comeback for the Jade Dragons, down 13,000+ gold as we're approaching the 32-35 minute mark. They find 1 Phoenix defense, 1 3-2 defense split up against the Leviathans. They're able to find a few picks of their own and bring this game back in their control. They wrestle a Fire Giant for themselves. They take out the first Phoenix of the game against the Leviathan space instead, when the Leviathans had control the entirety of this game. Mifflin, this is what the Dragons were looking for in game number 1, and they find it in game 3.
Before I get into all the greatness we saw from the Jade Dragons, I want to sing the praises of the Atlantis Leviathans, because that has got to be a heartfelt loss, right? I mean, Yarkor was playing out of his mind that game. The space created by that Osiris was absolutely ridiculous. Panatom, when the ultimates were landing, were massively impactful. 2 3-man ultimates at various points throughout the team fight. Shinto was connecting all his damage as well, but at the end of the day, it's the Jade Dragons from the brink who could stop offense after offense, siege after siege from the Atlantis Leviathans, and eventually it comes down to that last team fight around the Fire Giant. Use Kraken to secure the fire. You don't have it for the team fight, and if you don't have a resource in a game this close, the Jade Dragons will be able to punish you for it, and they do so magnificently. Phenomenal damage output from Pagon, 43,000 throughout the duration of this game, and it was not easy for him. Generally thought is, oh, he's just hitting me from further away than anybody else can hit, right? Not the case this time. He was contending with dives continually. Panatom had a target on this man's back the entire game. Yarkor was applying those tethers consistently. Even in the highlight clips, you can't get Yarkor off of him. He is struggling to find the space, but does so regardless. Gotta sing the praises of Pagon, man. This guy, he don't look like a rookie.
No, the rookie, and we only say that because it's literally his first season in the SPL, is playing like a veteran out here. This Thoth pick has come in clutch for the Dragons time and time again through phase number 1, is coming back clutch time and time again now in phase 2. This mid laner pickup for the Jade Dragons has brought a completely unique look to this team. I mean, when we were looking at former players of the team, back when Captain Twig was in mid, back when Hurrywin was in mid, it was a lot of very standard stuff, and there was nothing wrong with them playing the standard, but this unique dynamic that he has brought to the team, and just the ability to play these hyper carries, these real hard power hitters in this mid lane, has really shaken up this team in a positive way. And with it, the Jade Dragons are able to find themselves a Game 3 win up against the Atlantis Leviathans in a very long 40+ minute Game 1, a dominant 20-minute Game number 2 that the Dragons win, and now fighting back again in another 40-minute matchup, the Dragons find their win.
Technically a reverse sweep, if we wanted to get crazy about it, but
we do have the broom over there, I think.
Don't bring out the broom, man. We retired that. It's had so much punishment.
It's also not a best of 5. I think maybe only best of 5 to reserve it for that.
Oh, Mike was in my periphery. I thought
he was
going for the broom for a second.
it.
I was like, oh, hold on. But you're right. We have to sing the praises of the Jade Dragons, man. Of course, a phenomenal game 2, 20 minutes, as you said. But the ability to keep your mental in a match like that. There were various points where I'm standing up and I'm coming to the desk because I thought the Leviathans had ended the game. Multiple times. That defense, I believe it was a 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 3 where Sam for Soccer was able to hold his Phoenix or extend that Phoenix for so long that the rest of his team was able to defend. I thought that was a game over right there. Towards the tail end of the match, the previous team fight before that Fire Giant, where it was a 3-man core of the Leviathans starting to knock on the door of the Phoenix. Unfortunately for the Leviathans, that man falls down, but just multiple times where I think everybody was thinking, this game's going to end, be it the Dragons or the Leviathans. But at the end of the day, it was the Dragons.
It was the Jade Dragons finding the win. And for our post-game interview, we have the man that you're mentioning just a moment ago himself, Sam for Soccer, standing by for that post-game interview. Sam, congrats on a big 2-1 win over the Leviathans. I mean, how's the team feeling after a long-winded game 1, coming down to a loss, a bounce back in game number 2 of one that we haven't really seen at the SPL since that 9-5 patch drop, and then this long-winded battle in game 3? I mean, talk to me about, the mental of the team as y'all are making that siege defense.
Yeah, I don't know. I think obviously we were happy to win, but I'm not too sure. Obviously, you're just kind of like waiting it out, seeing what happens. I guess we were pretty far behind, so we were trying to trade the map as well as possible and like do anything we could. And yeah, I don't know. I guess luckily enough, we were able to hold on.
Yeah, you guys able to make a strong defense at y'all's Phoenix and then be able to push up and actually take the first Phoenix of the game there in that third game out there. You guys have been struggling a little bit to find some of your wins throughout the season so far. Obviously, we're still only in week 2. It's double round robin to go through, but I mean, how does it feel for the team to get a big win out here in the second week?
Yeah, it definitely feels good. I mean, the split's like longer this split than last, so it's like double round robin, I think, at least. So losses aren't as big of a deal, but yeah, it just feels good. I think we're taking every loss and win like with a grain of salt, just trying to improve as much as we can, get a hold of the meta as well as possible,
Well, of course. Well, Sam, thank you so much for coming by for the post-game interview. Congrats on the win. I'll let you get back with the team to celebrate.
Thanks.
And as mentioned, between myself and Sam there, it is a double round robin throughout here, so there's still more time for these teams to adapt to each other, more time for them to find those wins. So even though we're only in week number 2, even still being able to find those wins has always got to be a good thing to make sure that you can keep yourselves at the highest point of the standings as possible early on, so that way if you have a few stumbles later on, it won't be as impactful. Let's take a look at the schedule, though, because we are now done with our sets for today, and we still have another day of SPL to go. It's hard to believe with after 6 games, a full 6-game set today between a 3 with the Solar Scarabs and the Valkyries, with the Scarabs taking that, and now the Jade Dragons with a 2-1 win. This will leave us to our final day of play in week number 2 tomorrow on Sunday, starting at 11 a.m. It'll be the Olympus Bolts and the Oni Warriors, and the Valkyries and Titans will square off in the center, and the Solar Scarabs and the Camelot Kings will be there to round out our day.
Look, I know how you gamers at home work, right? You're looking at the schedule and you're thinking to yourself, man, why'd we put the Olympus Bolts versus the squad up there so early into the day? It's to make you guys get out of bed, all right? I want you tuning in early because the rest of the sets that day might be a little bit more one-sided as far as the standings are concerned, right? So we front-loaded it. Wake up. Make sure you're there. 11 a.m., bright and early.
But with that, at the very beginning of our week with the waiting room, we did make sure to crown, our most valuable primer, that is Captain Twig. So we'll finally get to talk to him at the very end of the week, at the very least. So make sure that you tune in at 11 a.m. to see the Bolts and the Warriors. Make sure that you tune in throughout all of the day for the SPL. But that's it for us here in day number 2. We'll see you guys tomorrow on behalf of myself, Mifflin, Castle Production, everyone behind the scenes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at 11 a.m.